Okay, let's begin. Thank you, Mr. Sylvester, for attending today. Before we begin with your opening statement, Mr. Sylvester, I do want to make it known that this committee issued a summons for your colleague, Mr. Massingham, and he has clearly refused to attend in the face of that summons. Mr. Angus?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I am very concerned that Mr. Massingham has refused a summons by our committee. I feel we're going to need to discuss this. We don't need to discuss it out in public right now, but I think we should be referring this to the House to get instructions regarding his refusal to attend this hearing.
So I would propose that we spend some time. We have an extended meeting this morning with Mr. Sylvester. Let's spend some time in camera discussing how to proceed and how we might go about referring the matter of contempt to the House. And with that, Mr. Sylvester, your opening statement. Before we do, we've discussed this before, and the clerk will swear you in, Mr. Sylvester.
So please repeat after me. I, Jeff Sylvester,
I, Jeff Sylvester,
do solemnly, sincerely, and truly
do solemnly, sincerely, and truly
affirm and declare the taking of any oath
and declare the taking of and affirm and declare the taking of any oath
is according to my religious belief unlawful,
is according to my religious beliefs unlawful,
and I do also solemnly, sincerely, and truly
and I do also solemnly, sincerely, and truly
affirm and declare that the evidence I shall give on this examination
and declare that the evidence I shall give on this examination
shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you.
And with that, you may begin your opening statement.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for inviting us back to speak with you today. As you're already aware, due to personal health reasons, Mr. Massingham is unable to attend. He asked me to pass along his sincere regrets for not being able to join us here today. If there are any questions that I'm unable to answer, he asked that I take those back to him, and he can reply as soon as he's able. I can assure you, though, that as the Chief Operating Officer, I can speak for Aggregate IQ on all matters. We've been entirely cooperative with this committee. After our last appearance on April 24th, we immediately followed up and provided many documents related to the questions you asked. Your chair also asked us to preserve documents in a letter dated May 3rd. In our response on the 10th, we told the committee that we'd already preserved the documents in the context of our cooperation with the Information and Privacy Commissioner of British Columbia and the Federal Privacy Commissioner, and we respect the important work being done by the Privacy Commissioners and this committee and wish to continue a constructive dialogue in support of that work. With respect to our discussion with you on the 24th, we were completely accurate and truthful. I didn't get a chance to answer every question in as much detail as I would have liked, given the time constraints, but I do stand behind every answer. I would like to raise my concerns about the wildly speculative comments that some have made about Aggregate IQ. I'm even more concerned that this speculation about my company has been taken as fact by others. Speculation by third parties does not constitute fact, and I ask that you not rely upon rumors, innuendo, and speculation. I'm here once again to give you the facts about Aggregate IQ's work. And so there's a few points I would like to state again. We are cooperating with the investigations of the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner of British Columbia, the Privacy Commissioner of Canada, and the UK's Information Commissioner's Office, or ICO. In fact, I met with the ICO after my meeting with the Digital, Culture, Media and Sport Committee in the UK, and just spoke to the ICO's investigators again last week. We're in touch on an ongoing basis, and I hope that the information we've provided and will continue to provide to them will be useful in their investigation. To be totally transparent, we provided your clerk our correspondence with the ICO. To the extent that there may have been a misunderstanding between us and the ICO, I'm confident that any misunderstanding has been cleared up. With regard to our work on the EU referendum, some of you expressed concern last time about us receiving a donation from Vote Leave for the work we did with Believe. This donation was always public. The Electoral Commission in the UK found, in March of 2017, that no further investigation was required into the donation by Vote Leave to Believe. And on March 15th of this year, the UK High Court confirmed, again, that a donation, whether of cash or kind, was entirely allowed under electoral law in the UK. With regard to the allegation that during Brexit, Aggregate IQ used the Facebook data that was allegedly improperly obtained by Dr. Kogan or Cambridge Analytica, Facebook has confirmed in their testimony and in writing to the UK DCMS committee that this was not the case. We've never had access or even seen the allegedly improperly obtained data, and nor would we have any interest in doing so. With respect to the allegation that BeLeave used 3 of the same audiences as Vote Leave during the referendum, Facebook confirmed in their letter that those groups were never used by BeLeave. When this came up before the UK DCMS committee, I told the committee I would look into it right away. I immediately investigated the circumstances and provided a very clear and detailed explanation to the committee later that night, along with evidence that these audiences were not shared with anyone at BeLeave, and that indeed they were never used. I'll be happy to provide that information to this committee when I return to my office. There are so many other areas where aggregate IQ has been misportrayed, and I expect that I'll have the opportunity to discuss many of those here today with you, but I thought I'd provide a couple of examples. When he was here under oath, Mr. Wiley stated it was, and I'll quote, true that Aggregate IQ was not part of SCL. It was a separately registered company in a separate country, end quote. While his statements seem to have changed over time, we have consistently stated the facts. We are 100% Canadian-owned and operated, and we are not a part of any other company. Aggregate IQ does not become part of SCL simply because we've done work for them. Nor does Aggregate IQ become part of SCL simply because some unknown person within SCL created a phone list or put our name on a website. Nor does Aggregate IQ become part of Cambridge Analytica because someone makes a draft document with Cambridge Analytica in the header. Even The Guardian has had to admit that they did not intend to assert that Aggregate IQ was part of SCL or Cambridge Analytica. Mr. Vickery has appeared before this committee and the UK DCMS committee to float various speculative theories based on what he's seen or what he thinks he's seen. Mr. Vickery's comments and tweets have made it clear that he is not an expert in the work that we do. Mr. Vickery gained unauthorized access to our code repository. Were he simply to have made note of that, of what he saw, and let us know about the issue, that would be fine. But he broke his own practice and downloaded the information he found there, and in doing so, he may have broken the law. As part of our investigation, we found a number of instances where Mr. Vickery's actions do not align with what he said publicly, and we'll be passing that along to the appropriate authorities. I look forward to your questions and continuing our discussion, as the work you're doing here is very important, and I hope that we can be of assistance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sylvester, and the first 7 minutes goes to Ms. Vandenbeld.
Thank you, and thank you very much for being here again today. Just to address some of the things that we have heard from other witnesses. When you came before the committee before, I asked you about the psychosocial profiles that were being used on Facebook to target certain audiences, and I asked if you still had any of these scores in your databases, and your answer to me was, we're not a data company, so we have no interest in any of that. When I asked Mr. Vickery about that, he said, quote, they have a great deal of interest in data. There is data within that hard drive that I provided to you guys that proves many of his statements there incorrect. I really am surprised that he would state those things, unquote. Given that the committee is now in possession of the hard drive, did you want to revise that statement?
No. The information I said before was correct. We're not a data company. We don't sell data. We don't sell access to data. We provide software that certainly uses information and data, but it's not information that we sell to clients or transfer between one party or another. It's only the information that's provided by the client for use with that client. And so, no, I wouldn't change my statement at all.
Okay, so you never retain data and use it for one client or another?
We've never taken information from one client and shared it with another client, no.
Okay, who owns your intellectual property?
Well, our intellectual property is owned by us. We also have clients who at times ask us to write software that they want to own at the end of the contract, in which case we will have a contract that includes them after having paid us, and if they're happy with the product, we then transfer the code to them and then they own that code.
Mr. Wiley told us that all of your that you have one client, your client is SCL, and that your intellectual data is, or your intellectual property is owned by SCL. There's no ownership arrangement in terms of your data?
In terms of our which?
Your intellectual property. Mr. Wiley told us that it was owned by SCL, that all of your intellectual property is, it belongs to SCL.
That's not accurate. So we did have a contract with SCL in 2014 for the creation of the political customer relationship management tool. And at the end of that contract, and they paid us, then they owned the code for that tool. With respect to other work, we have done some work with SCL where we retained the ownership of the code, and we've done work for other clients where they would like to retain ownership after the code is, but that's a standard process for contract software development.
How many clients have you had?
From when we began, less than 100, but.
And those are clients specifically of AIQ. They're not clients of SCL that you were doing work through them.
So we do work with, like with SCL, for example, we did work for a number of their clients as well, but it was all through SCL. So SCL, for example, we started with Trinidad and Tobago. So that was one client. Then we did some work during the midterms, and there were a variety of campaigns during the midterms in 2014. And then we worked with them on the presidential primary after that. But then we also have our own clients completely separate of that.
So outside of the clients that you have through SCL, how many of your own clients would you have?
Like right now?
At any point?
I mean, it would range depending on the situation. Like when we first started out, we only had a few. More recently, we had quite a few more. And right now we've got a small number of clients, like less than 10 right now.
And you've never taken data that you gathered through one client and transferred it and used it for another client?
No, not at all.
Okay. Now, you told us last time that you had access to turnout scores or ranking scores that you had received through SCL and that you used that in order to determine who to target on Facebook. Can you tell us whether, because one of the things that we've heard is that rather than just using Facebook's tools, as you mentioned to us, of demographics and age groups, that you've actually uploaded custom lists to Facebook. So is it true that you've taken custom lists? And if you did, where did you get those lists from?
Yeah, we have used custom lists. The majority of advertising we do is through the demographic type of group-based advertising that we were speaking about. We have taken lists from clients and uploaded it to Facebook or Google in order to advertise to those lists. So those lists might be things like volunteers. If you're trying to advertise to people who might have come and said they would be a volunteer to remind them how important it is to volunteer, you might send that message. You might also use that in Facebook to expand your audience so that when you upload that first audience and start advertising to it, you can then or use a lookalike audience. So it makes the audience bigger based on what Facebook believes is connected to all of that. And so we'll do that as well.
Have you ever used the same custom list for more than one client?
So during our work with SCL, I can't be certain that they didn't provide us the same list for two different clients, but because we did, a considerable amount of advertising with them, I'd have to double check, and I don't have access to Facebook right now to be able to do that. But when I do, I'll look into that. But that wouldn't have been at the same time, so it would have been perfectly allowed if it did take place. I'm not certain if it did or didn't. With respect to Brexit or anything like that, no, we've never used the same list.
So you would not have used the same custom list for two clients during, for instance, the Brexit campaign?
Not at all.
So every list was completely different?
So we did, yes, and we did custom audiences like that for Vote Leave, but we didn't use those for any of the other clients.
And those custom lists, were those based on psychosocial profiles with data that was gathered by SCL?
No, none of the information that SCL ever used or provided to us was used in anything to do with Brexit.
So you're maintaining that the way that you targeted people was largely through Facebook's own tools, where you could just go through, or through lists that were provided by volunteers or others from SCL?
Are we talking about in terms of Brexit?
In targeting, in your campaigns, in the targeting campaigns that you've done.
So the information that we used in providing advertising services to SCL's clients would have been only from information that was provided by those clients or by SCL for those clients. All the advertising we did on behalf of either Vote Leave or Be Leave or veterans or DUP was only using information that was provided by those specific clients.
So if SCL was giving you the same data for more than one of their clients, that means SCL themselves were keeping data from client to client.
Well, in the United States, so for example, in one election, you might use information that is required to be kept separate for that particular election, but they theoretically could have used that list again in another election later on. It is possible.
So you were using data, you were targeting people on Facebook, you were given data through SCL, and you knew that SCL was using the same data for multiple clients, and yet you never questioned where that data came from or whether or not there was some link between those, or whether they were maintaining data they shouldn't have maintained, but from client to client.
All of the information that we received from SCL was in the form of a list that was consistent with what a regular voter list would look like. And so they would give us a list, for example, of names and email addresses for a campaign. And these are people who lived in that area that campaign was going on, and something that they would be legally entitled to, just as you get a list from Elections Canada. It's just they would have created a smaller version of that and given it to us.
Unfortunately, we've got to go to Mr. Kent for the next 7 minutes.
Fortunately, I think one might put it, Mr. Chair.
Well, maybe both.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Sylvester, for appearing before us again today. And just to continue on the line of questioning by Ms. Vandenbeld, when Christopher Wiley appeared before us, he said you can't build a targeting platform that doesn't have access to data. And he said, because what you're targeting, because then, what are you targeting? And he said one of the things he provided to on the Ripon project, what he was discussing. And basically he says, frankly, I'm surprised and really disappointed that Jeff Sylvester and Zach Massingham have decided to try to obfuscate or hide what happened. You'll have to ask them, Mr. Wiley said, why it is that they are taking this line. But in my view, he said, that's just not true. What value would they offer then if they did not use any of the data? How would you respond?
Firstly, I would say that we're not trying to obfuscate or hide anything. We've come and spoken to this committee, to the UK DCMS committee, to the Information Commissioner of the UK, the Electoral Commission's asked us questions, the Privacy Commissioner of Canada, the Information and Privacy Commissioner of British Columbia has asked us questions, and we've provided all the information that we can provide to each of them. There's still more information they're looking for that we're working on getting, and we'll continue to do that. With respect to the idea that you need to have some huge data set in order to launch a national advertising campaign, no, you do not need that. The tools that Facebook and Google provide are all you need to get started. Now, campaigns will use data, as I described to Ms. Vandenbeld about, here are my supporters, or here are my the people that have signed up on my website, or whatever that happens to be. And yes, depending on the situation, we'll use that at the campaign's direction. But no, you do not need a huge list of people or information from anywhere else in order to launch a national or local campaign for that.
So how would you explain Mr. Wiley's statement, his allegation? He is presumably fully aware of what you need and how it works to...
I'm not aware of Mr. Wiley's experience when it comes to advertising. He has asked us in the past to if we could help with advertising on different projects he was working with. His questions at the time seemed to suggest he was not fully aware of how these platforms work. He may have educated himself since, but the assertion on his part that you need some huge database of information is not correct.
Now, advertising in the commercial world is very different from the sort of advertising that we're talking about, the sort of manipulation of data that we're talking about here with regards to political activities. Mr. Wiley testified that he drew the line, although he had been working for some time, for some years, with all of you, but he drew the line when he became aware of the intent to suppress voters' intentions, to affect voters' intentions, and to suppress the vote by discouraging people from voting. Did you become aware of that, or at some point did you have any of the similar concerns that Mr. Wiley said motivated him to blow the whistle?
I've never seen any evidence from any of our clients that they were attempting to suppress a vote of any type. We've certainly never run any advertising to try to suppress a vote or done any work to try to suppress a vote in any way. Our goal is to encourage people to vote. It just happens that we encourage them to vote for the client that we're working for. Efforts to suppress a vote, I wouldn't even know what that would look like. So Mr. Wiley may have seen some evidence of that in some of the work that he's done in the past. I don't know. He's not talked to me about that, but that's not work that we would undertake.
Well, he was speaking in specific regard to the American campaigns, which the various entities, corporate entities, were involved in. And he said that the intent there was to discourage black voters to vote, to discourage their participation in the democratic process. If you were managing the advertising, would you not have seen something that might have triggered in your mind an attempt to suppress the voting by that particular demographic?
If there was a campaign that was trying to advertise to a group and use that advertising to somehow suppress that vote, and they were using us as their advertiser, we would definitely see that. But as I said, we've never seen any evidence of that with any of the clients we've worked with.
Have you ever seen the technical briefing that Mr. Wiley gave to Dominic Cummings for the Vote Leave campaign, where he basically pitches the capability of affecting voter attitudes?
I've seen some portions of it as they've been, posted here and there in different media articles, but I've not read the whole thing.
One of the lines that I read back to Mr. Wiley that certainly concerns me if it were applied in a Canadian context was, we can trigger the underlying dispositional motivation that drives each psychographic audience. In other words, we can tap into how the voter sees the world and use our understanding of their personality to speak their language when crafting their arguments. Doesn't that concern you somewhat if basically they're using this capability, this psychographic micro-targeting, to change individuals' minds by exploiting the vulnerabilities of their own personal prejudices, biases, anxieties?
Like what you've described there, and like I said, I haven't seen that document. It sounds, horrible and scary, but the process of advertisers trying to influence people is what advertisers do. If, for example, you're a car company, you might realize that, for your particular car, perhaps it's males that buy it more often, and so you'll create advertising that will appeal to those males that might want to buy your car. Some car companies have done research to show that they need to raise their prices and make their vehicle look more exclusive than otherwise, and that's manipulation as well. But to the point in terms of specific individual personalities, I don't know of a way online where you could target an individual specifically for advertising. You have to target large groups.
Well, yes, and again, Mr. Wiley says in this pitch document, it's effectively a pitch document, people think they know their opinions better than they do and can often be lying to themselves. Essentially, he's saying that he has ways of using deep data points, very large numbers of individual data points put into various demographic blocks to change their minds. Do you believe that there's a line that should be drawn in terms of where political parties collect data, how far they can go in the sort of data they collect, how they can manipulate it, and how they can use it?
Yeah, and there's two questions there. To the first point with respect to the psychographics and all that sort of stuff, and again, I'm not an expert on that, but the work that Mr. Wiley did with SCL before he left ended up not working. The campaigns that used it reported in the press and other places that it didn't work. And so insofar as if he was doing the same thing as he did that time, and in fact, actually at the DCMS committee, Mr. Kogan reported that, again, the testing on those results that he provided to SCL weren't accurate. So if he was doing the exact same thing as he did before, then it didn't work. I know that there's theoretical journals and papers that get into that about how it's theoretically possible, but I'm not aware of any political organization that's done that successfully or any corporate organization that's done that successfully. To your second point, though, is that something that political parties and indeed Parliament should be looking at? Yes. Because when you provide information to a organization, you should know when you're providing it, why you're providing it, what they're going to do with it, what you can do to get that information back if you need to. And right now in Canada, and indeed like on all of your websites, you collect information, but well, Mr. Kent, your website does have a privacy statement, but we don't tell people typically on political sites what is going to happen with that information or how they can get it back. And one thing that I think would be really important for the committee to do is to, and I think Mr. Erskine-Smith has talked about this before, is to have very clear and easy to read statements on everyone's websites if they're collecting information about what that information is being collected for, how it's going to be used and what it can be used for in the future, how they can get it back. And so I think that, oh sorry, I'll just finish real quick. And so I think that that's an area where there is opportunity for change, because right now that's not the case. You can use implied consent, but it's certainly something for politicians, companies, organizations, anyone really should have that.
Far be it for me to cut you off while you're quoting me, but it's Mr. Angus's turn for 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Sylvester. I want to just say at the outset, what we're trying to do here is get at the facts. We have no axe to grind with aggregate IQ. Your evidence is as valuable to us as anyone else's. I would say that we are very frustrated because we felt the last time that your colleague, Mr. Massingham, was not forthcoming at all. And we have a number of questions. The fact that he's not here, to me, raises serious concerns, because there's questions that I don't believe you can answer based on the Slack messages that we have from him. But we will, having said that, we will carry on. I want to go back to the conversation you and Chris Wiley had about the siloing and information between the Vote Leave and the Believe campaign. And he asked you if you siloed the information, and he said that you did not. Did you silo and keep those two campaigns separate?
Yes. We always keep campaigns separate. We kept all the information separate from the two campaigns. I did mention in my opening statement about the information that Facebook found about that one group, and I'll provide that all that information, the evidence to you, just to demonstrate how that wasn't shared between the campaigns.
Okay, because I'm looking at some of the Google Drive documents that we see with on the Believe folder on the drive, and includes several senior Vote Leave staff members, employees of Aggregate IQ, company secretary of Believe. AIQ said that this work is siloed, but what we see from these Google Drive documents is that Believe documents were very accessible to the Vote Leave. So how could it have been siloed?
So we keep all of the information for our clients separate. What you're referring to is a drive that's owned by Vote Leave. That's really a question for Vote Leave. Okay. I know that they've made representations about that to the Electoral Commission, but I couldn't tell you what their process or anything was about that.
And Chris Wiley repeated under oath that you told him that what you were doing was completely illegal, and you knew it. He said that under oath, and we asked you, and you said you sent him a text saying that you didn't understand how he misunderstood that.
That's not the text that I sent. So Mr. Wiley and I had a conversation in April of 2017, well after Brexit, where we did talk about what the media was saying about Vote Leave and Believe. I've never believed that what we've done is illegal, and so I can't imagine ever having said that to him. With respect,
he said it under oath.
I understand
and
that.
The last time you were here, I asked you, and you said you were surprised, and you sent him a text. So now you're saying that wasn't the text?
No,
because we asked him, he said he never received a text from you.
So I'll just finish that by saying, so we had that meeting in April, and we had a number of conversations, meetings, and text back and forth after that. I've never brought up the issue with him at that point because I didn't know that there was any issue, that he'd misunderstood or come to any conclusion different from what I came to a conclusion about our conversation. When I sent him a text was just recently when I learned of his very public allegations about having, him saying exactly what you're saying now. And so that would have been in the end of March, beginning of April this year. And so I sent him the message then, and the message was essentially, and I don't have it with me, but it was essentially to the fact, if you have a second, can we talk? That was all I said.
Okay, because, he said he never received a text from you, so would you share your text with us? Because it seems to me pretty shocking that a colleague of yours says that you were very emphatic in saying that you knew what you were doing was completely illegal, and you're just surprised by that. Did you say that what you were doing was completely illegal? Did you know what you were doing was illegal?
I don't believe we've done anything illegal, firstly. Secondly, to the respect of having sent texts, the message that I sent him was via a program that we've been using to communicate called Signal, and Signal deletes those messages after they're sent, okay. So I don't have a record of that. but I know that I sent it, and that's why I say in and around the end of March, beginning of April. And to be completely clear, it was to a number that I'd last used to communicate with him back in September of 2017. And as I mentioned at the DCMS committee, it's entirely possible he's changed his number. I don't know.
So he
but
might
I
never.
certainly
So
sent
he
that
said he
message.
never got it. You might just have sent it to the wrong. I mean, for tech people, you guys should be more on top of this, I think, especially
Well,
if it's your reputation to say. But I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to move on. I have a number of questions for your colleague who's not here, Mr. Massingham, based on the potential illegalities of using the Believe campaign as a money laundering vehicle for Vote Leave. And I want to just look through some of the conversations. Maybe you can help us because he's not here. But 10 days before the campaign ends, Darren Grimes, who's a 22-year-old fashion student, writes your colleague and says, we want you to take on this campaign for us. And the next day he sends a 400,000 pound order. That's a lot of money for a 22-year-old fashion student. And then Mr. Massingham responds to it at one point and says, we're on track to spend $300K today. Do you need me to grab some money for you? Where would you guys be grabbing money for your clients?
So the donation from Vote Leave to Believe came directly to us. And Mr. Grimes had expressed to Zach about how he needed some of that money for some activities they were undertaking. And so he was asking at one point for that money to be transferred back, but he inevitably resolved that issue and didn't require that. So
when Mr. Grimes wrote to the Information Commissioner saying what he got for £625,000 in 10 days of work from you, he said that you guys collected 1,000 phone numbers for him, 1,164 emails, and placed a few ads. Sounds like you guys were extremely overpaid, don't you think?
No. So we placed, and I don't have the exact numbers, but it was approximately, there's more than 150 million impressions. There was 800,000 clicks. There was a number of measures of what we provided, and we provided a full report to them about that at the end.
That's funny. Well, why would Grimes say it was just merely 1,164 email addresses? Because the question here is, how did this group that did not exist before come into £625,000 that was passed on to you, that Christopher Wiley has said under oath that this was basically set up as a money laundering campaign for Vote Leave, and you were the vehicle to do that? And when I see what he claims that work you did in that 10 days, that's not much work done for that amount of money.
So the amount of work we did was for exactly that amount of money. We provided full reports to Believe on that. We expressed to them before the campaign that collecting email addresses or mobile phone numbers is not going to be very efficient because it's such a short campaign. They agreed that that was okay, and their goal was to show the ads. That was their primary goal. If he's providing that information to the Information Commissioner, that's the only information the Information Commissioner would be concerned in with respect of how much information they collected. I'm sure Mr. Grimes has reported to the Electoral Commission all of the work that we did on his behalf in terms of advertising. With respect to the donation, as I said in my opening statement, that was demonstrated to be entirely okay under UK electoral law.
Well, it would be entirely okay if these were two separate campaigns, but they were being run out of the same office. The Google Drives were all connected. You were brought in to handle £625,000 in the final 10 days, and it was funneled through Believe. And again, Mr. Massingham says, do you need me to get you some money? And Mr. Grimes says, no, don't worry, Victoria Woodcock's going to get it for us. It sounds like you were just one very tightly run happy family, which would be okay if it wasn't against the law. And that's why we go back to the opening conversation we had about your conversation with Mr. Wiley, where he said that you knew and you thought it was funny that what you were doing was completely illegal, and then you tell us that at some point you sent him some kind of message to a phone or some service that may not exist anymore.
Well, that was all
it just finds very hard to believe you. And you are under oath, remember.
I can only provide you the information that I have. With respect to the message that I sent Mr. Wiley, like I said, it was at the end of March, beginning of April, when I learned about his allegations about exactly what we're speaking about.
So did Mr. Wiley lie to our committee because he was under oath?
No, because the statements that he said at the time with respect to not receiving a text from me...
whether or not what you said was a complete lie, that you knew that what you were doing was illegal? Did he lie to our committee?
No, I believe he's mistaken. It's not a question of lying or not lying. I think largely
Well, I believe
what
it is.
Well, largely
When
what we
someone
see.
says that what you were doing is completely illegal, that's a complete attack on your professional career, and he said you laughed. So that couldn't be a misinterpretation. That's either true or it's false. He either lied, or I'd suggest that you may be lying, but you can't just say it's a difference of opinion,
Well, this is
legal or illegal.
But this is a conversation that took place in 2017, in April of 2017. I don't recall ever telling him that I thought it was illegal. We did speak about the media and what they thought. Perhaps he interpreted what I was saying about the media as me saying it myself. I don't know, because I've not been able to communicate about them. But the best way to resolve this would be for him and I to talk about it. But unfortunately, that's not happened.
We are well over time, but thank you, Mr. Angus. And if you don't mind, I'll take the next 7 minutes from here. Who is your point of contact, the name of your point of contact at SCL?
Well, we had a variety of contacts over time. But Alexander Taylor was probably chief point of contact at different times. But there were a number depending on what the project was.
Did you ever deal directly with Steve Bannon?
No.
You did a considerable amount of advertising for SCL. You indicated to Ms. Vandenbeld, and you may have received the same audience and same information from SCL. You said, oh, we did such a large amount, it's hard to know. You did Trinidad and Tobago, the U.S., Nigeria. What other countries did you work in?
We did it. We created a door-to-door tool for Lithuania as well. Okay. And then, of course, the presidential primary.
In Nigeria, that video that you rightly opted not to disseminate, who specifically asked you to disseminate it?
We were asked by SCL to.
No, but who, the name of the person at SCL that asked you to do it?
I don't recall. I'd have to look into that for you.
Okay. Could you get that for us?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Is it fair to say that the Brexit campaign was one of the largest campaigns you ever worked on?
The Brexit campaign was one of the largest campaigns we've ever worked on, yeah.
Was Massingham or yourself located in the UK during the Brexit referendum?
Yeah, we had a number of staff that would go there from time to time.
No, but you or Mr.
I never went, but Mr. Massingham did, yeah.
Mr. Massingham was there. So the work for the Brexit campaign was in fact being done in the UK to a large degree?
No. Mr. Massingham would just get the information and send it back to the people in Canada who would do the work at our offices.
But I've read the Slack messages. Mr. Massingham was doing work for the Brexit campaign, and he was in the UK. Is that fair to say?
I wouldn't say he's doing work. He's communicating these meetings, and he's getting information and sharing it back with our staff.
Okay.
In terms of, here's the thing. It's a question of our meetings work. Our collecting information and relaying it back to us, is that work? We could talk about that all day, I suppose. But
well, in an advertising campaign, talking about the advertising and the content of the advertising sounds like work. What was on the Believe Google Drive that Massingham had access to?
As I understand it, there was pictures and graphics that they'd used in previous efforts.
It wasn't odd to you or to Mr. Massingham that Vote Leave officials had ready access to that drive?
So at the time, we weren't aware that Vote Leave officials may or may not have had access to it, and I don't know if they did or didn't. Mr. Grimes sent us a link with information for their advertising campaign, and we clicked the link and downloaded that information.
In the last attendance, Mr. Massingham noted that he was aware that had further monies been spent under Vote Leave and not the Believe campaign, that they would have gone over the election finance limit. How were you aware of that at the time?
Well, we knew what the election finance limits were for both official campaigns and
everything that Vote Leave had spent to date. You only knew what they'd spent to you, and that's wasn't anywhere near the cap. So how did you know that they were up near the cap? Well,
we knew that what our advertising budget was, and so when you approach the end of a campaign and you're approaching the end of your advertising budget.
But your advertising budget was not close to the £7 million cap.
No.
Right. So how did you know that they were reaching the cap?
I don't know personally they were reaching the cap. I know that that they're reaching the end of their advertising limit.
Interesting, because at the outset of your statement today, you said you were completely aware of everything. You're the COO. You knew everything to do with AIQ, and Mr. Massingham needn't attend before us. But that's not really the case if you can't answer certain questions. So, Mr. Massingham, have you read all the Slack messages that were sent to us?
I've read most of them, yeah.
Okay, well, interesting. Again, Mr. Massingham was actually sending those and receiving those Slack messages. At one point, he indicated that the timing was useful because the softer stuff for the Believe campaign would have played really well at a certain time. different from the hard stuff, presumably the Vote Leave campaign stuff. Is that what he was getting at?
I don't know what he was getting at that point,
So
but
perhaps he should be here to tell us.
well, he would have liked to have been here, but unfortunately, as I mentioned,
He would have liked to have been here. Yes. We have no reason to believe that there was any content shared between the campaigns we worked for, nor did we see any evidence of coordination. You believe in that statement? And the monies, the donation amounts moving back and forth, the fact that there was access to the drive, the fact that the Vote Leave officials had in fact established Leave's constitution, none of this indicated coordination to you or raised red flags?
So with respect to the donation, as I mentioned in my opening statement, that was entirely allowed under UK electoral law. With respect to the drive, or you said a constitution, we were unaware of that, and it's only now that we're seeing any information about that particular bit. But whether it is or is not allowed, I'm not the expert on that.
So one of the donors is blacked out in the messages we received. It was for £50,000. The name started with A. Is that Aaron Banks?
No.
Who is it?
I don't have the exact name here, but I know it wasn't Mr. Banks. But
So you'll provide us with that name?
I can check if I can provide you with that name, yeah.
Well, you certainly have to provide us with that name.
Well,
I'm
if someone
asking
else's,
you to provide us with that name.
I can see what I can do with respect to my confidentiality obligations and see if I can get you that information.
Okay, you may want to consult with your lawyers and understand that no confidential obligations mean that you don't have to provide information requested by this committee. Okay? So in total, AIQ ran 1,390 ads on behalf of the pages linked to the referendum campaign between February 2016 and June 23rd inclusive. That's directly from Facebook. So you ran 1,400 ads for
Facebook?
Through Facebook for the various referendum campaigns.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So in the Slack messages, there's no indication of how money is to be spent, how many ads are to be run, how much money is to be put into the ads to be run. And yet, ostensibly, you provided us all the Slack messages as between Leave and Mr. Massingham. So why would I not have seen how 600,000, almost 700,000 pounds actually should be spent, how many ads should be run, and how much money should be delivered through each ad?
So a great amount of the conversation was done verbally. You'll know that, like, I think in one of the email messages, Zach talks about having a call with Darren, and that's when he would have got that information and relayed the information back to
So there would be, so the confirmation of 675,000 pounds of spending would probably have been done verbally?
Yeah.
So very convenient. Okay, who is the administrator on the Facebook accounts? You, Mr. Massingham, who are the
there were
administrators?
different administrators depending on the account. Like, do you mean like the Aggregate IQ account?
On the Facebook accounts for Leave and for Vote Leave, who are the
So we have
administrators?
advertisers who are administrators on different accounts, and we have, like, sometimes myself or sometimes Mr. Massingham.
So
Depending.
who was authorized to place ads on behalf of Vote Leave and Leave from AIQ?
Well, our advertisers would have been.
Okay, so Facebook notes, our investigations to date have found that there was one data file custom audience, one website custom audience, and one lookalike audience that were used to select targeting criteria for potential ads during this period by both Vote Leave and Leave pages, to suggest that there was some, if not coordination, certainly some convenient similarities between the campaigns being run by the two. Can you speak to that?
And that's something that you and I spoke about just briefly before the meeting, and I actually addressed in my opening statement. What they're referring to is that when we created the account for Leave, initially one of our junior staff just copied one of the other the campaign account that we created for Vote Leave, thinking that it was the same campaign. They were quickly told that that was not the case. Those audiences were deleted, and all of the stuff was deleted, and they started again. But they used the same account, and so. That information was created, but it was never used, never shared. No one from Leave ever saw it. We provided all of that information and a very detailed description to the DCMS committee, and as I said, when I get back to the office, I'll provide it to you as well.
Okay, and I'm running out of time, so I've got just one last question in this round. Before the UK committee, they indicated they've got possession of internal emails that show senior AIQ staff discussing accessing the Kogan data from SCL Cambridge Analytica servers for the Bolton PAC. Do you have any knowledge of that?
So the email, and I spoke about it there, the email that they're speaking about is an email that came from an SCL person asking me where the political CRM was. The information in that particular email is a survey that they were doing about issues unrelated to any personality or anything like that. And they're using a tool called Qualtrics to do normal surveys of people across America to get their general...
Did you understand what the Kogan data meant?
No. With respect to Kogan data, in that particular conversation, and that's what I can speak to, they were speaking about a Qualtrics survey they were doing of some 6,000 or so people.
Okay, thanks very much. With that, we're going to Mr. Gourde for 5 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Monsieur...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sylvester, looking back and thinking through the situation as it's occurring, are you going to change your business model for service delivery in the future, or are you going to retain the same systems?
New procedures because there are some things that happened that were not that were not the right way to do business with respect to our Git repository and so on. There's also changes that we'll have to make with respect to how we work with Facebook, because Facebook has changed the way that they allow advertisers to do work. And so, yes, there are changes that we're making. In addition, of course, we're doing a full investigation into that Git repository accessed by Mr. Vickery, and I anticipate when that concludes, there may be additional things that we need to do as a result. We've also learned that there are some additional, instead of informal policies, we need to formalize a lot of our policies in our conversations with the Office of Information Privacy Commission of British Columbia. I imagine they're going to give us some formal recommendations to that respect, and of course we'll change our business practices with respect to that, and we've already started down that path.
Dans votre modèle...
In your business model in the past, is it your company that directly paid for advertising placed on Facebook and you charged your electoral clients, or did you just offer advice and it was two different billing systems?
So we have both advertised on Facebook for our client and then billed them, or we provide advice to clients and they do their own advertising, or we direct their advertising and then they do it on their own page and pay for it. So it's happened both ways at different times.
Est-ce que...
Did you ensure that all of the billings for the election campaign were declared in the DGM report, or was that not your responsibility?
Royaume-Uni ou...
Yes, United Kingdom or elsewhere, because you have customers here, there, and everywhere. So when you bill for an election campaign, do you expect to find in the election reports the charges for the services you offered, no matter the campaign and what you did for that billing? Everything has to be declared, reported. Did you verify that all of the work you did in these election campaigns was declared by the parties involved?
Voice, we understand that different clients have different reporting requirements. A lot of our campaigns, of course, were provided, in the U.S. Those campaigns that I mentioned in terms of the midterms or the presidential were done through SCL, and so SCL or companies they're working with show up in the reporting. But yes, in terms of Brexit or here or anywhere else, when we invoice, we fully expect that that's going to show up in public reporting. Sometimes we do check, not always, if the Electoral Commission or any organization asks us for clarity about that, we're happy to provide it, and as we've done in the past.
Y avait-il un avantage?
Was there an advantage to work in a foreign country, let's say the United Kingdom? Part of the work was done in the United Kingdom, part of it was done in Canada. Were there technical advantages to this? Because if you worked in Canada during the day, it corresponded to the night overseas, and it's different legislation. Did that provide extra or additional legitimacy for your work?
Extra legitimacy or value, insofar as taxation might be different. I know in the UK we weren't subject to the VAT, the value-added tax, so that may have been an advantage to the client. I don't know if that was a decision that they undertook in terms of choosing us. With respect to some Canadian clients we've attempted to work with in the past, they've opted not to use us. They went with an American client because there was an advantage to using the American client because of taxation reasons, or the American company vendor, excuse me. So with respect to the 24-hour cycle, there's certainly an advantage to having people awake and working when other people aren't, but we, regardless of where we work, we'll structure our working hours to match up with what the client is doing. So there are some advantages, there's also disadvantages.
L'argent reçu,
The money received for your services that you provided during election campaigns, these monies, did they come through a third party for all these election campaigns?
Advertising that we did on behalf of Vote Leave, Be Leave during Brexit came directly to us from either the campaign or as a donation from Vote Leave with respect to veterans or Be Leave. With respect to work that we did for SCL, for their clients, that money came through SCL. And so it just depends on the client. Sometimes we have relationships with a number of companies who in turn use our services to provide it to their clients, or we also provide services directly. If it's direct, then we invoice directly, but if we're doing work through another company, then we'll invoice that company, and that company will in turn invoice the client.
Thanks very much. With that, we go to Mr. Picard for the next 5 minutes.
Thank you. Sir, what are the name of the Russian clients, or what kind of service you provide to Russian clients?
To which clients, pardon me?
Russian.
We don't have any Russian clients.
Why do you have page of codes translated in Russian then? On your site?
I know Mr. Erskine-Smith mentioned that earlier. I've not seen any code in our repository that has Russian, but it's possible that we've downloaded code samples that might have included stuff, but I don't know. I'd have to look into it. If you have specific information that I can look into, I'm happy to do that.
Is Johnny 5 one of your staff?
Johnny 5 is our, I think I might know what you're thinking about. Sorry. So Johnny 5 is an app, an iPhone and Android app that we've made for one of our clients. The client is WPA Intelligence out of the United States. They in turn have sold that to their clients, and that's how we arrange that.
Did we get the name of the company? What the company you was?
WPA Intelligence out of the United States.
Do you know whether it's an American company or just an American?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they in turn have sold the access to that app to their clients. One of those clients is in the Ukraine, and there was, and we did some translation work for them that included English, Russian, and Ukrainian to make the app work in Ukraine.
Do you happen to be aware what are the clients of your client?
We're not always aware of all the other clients of our client, only if we're working with them with respect to that specific client.
So you knew what was the purpose of this app to the Ukraine client at the end of
that particular app is for sharing social messages with other people. It's for joining campaign activities, seeing what the campaign is up to, making phone calls, this sort of thing.
So do you have the name of this Ukrainian company?
It's called Osnova.
Osnova. I want to follow up on one question, Mr. Erskine-Smith, about the $600K that was agreed upon verbally. This was for a campaign, specific campaign, which one?
We're speaking about Be Leave, I think.
Okay. I guess if this money was for a specific campaign, you say that this money was agreed verbally. How did they justify their expenses then? What kind of document did you provide for them to justify the expense for political reasons?
So when we, for that particular discussion, Mr. Grimes emailed us. Mr. Massingham, Mr. Grimes then had a conversation about what their goals were, what they wanted to do. And then all of the decisions on what ads were run and everything was done via the Slack channel that I provided you, and also verbally on the phone.
What kind of invoice did you provide them? Because they need to justify their expense.
We provided them insertion orders and invoices that I believe have been made public by the Electoral Commission in the UK.
I'd like a copy of this invoice, please, with the description of
I
what's
believe
on
we
it.
provided it in our last bit of documentation that we provided you, but I'll double check, and if
maybe
not,
my
I'll
mistake if I didn't see it, but yes, I need a copy of this invoice. You say that you kept the two campaigns separate, although I guess there's a channel wall in your office then that look at the Be Leave campaign and what's the name of the other one? Vote Leave?
There was Vote Leave and there was Be Leave.
So I guess there's a channel wall in your office to be sure that you separate those two cases when you work in your office on those two campaigns.
In terms of those two campaigns, there's not a separate office for that because the people who are doing the work are not decision makers in that respect. We get the direction from the client, and we don't share that information back and forth between clients. It is possible that someone in our office was able to see both campaigns at the same time.
When you say that you work in silo, or you siloed those two campaigns, how did you end up with a swift message where there's an amount of money from one campaign saying that this amount should be treated for the other campaign? Therefore, you were the middleman in the transfer of money, avoiding one company exceeding the limit of its expenses by doing so.
Well, the donation that we received from Vote Leave to Believe, as I mentioned, was entirely allowed under electoral law in the UK. But
you say it's a donation. It's a political donation?
It's a donation from Vote Leave to Believe.
Are you an agent to solicit donation from someone else on behalf of one campaign?
Are we which?
Are you authorized to solicit money from people to give to whatever campaign you work for?
I don't know that I understand, but we certainly, when
a donator somewhere, a donator gives money to help a campaign. In order to do that, someone takes money, give it to the campaign. Instead of giving to one specific campaign, they give it to you and then transfer it to the other, while they just have to call the person and transfer the money. Why they use a third party to transfer what seems to be a donation and apparently not money for contracts?
Well, I understand at the time that the Believe campaign didn't have all of their bank accounts finished being set up, and so they asked that they asked Vote Leave to transfer the money directly to us, and we understood that that was entirely allowed.
We are unfortunately out of time, so we'll move to Mr. Kent for 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Earlier, Mr. Sylvester, when we were talking, you made the point that you don't need a huge database. When we were talking about databases, access to databases, did you use the modifier huge advisedly? I mean, you do need, what size of database do you require?
Well, you'll want to keep track of the ads that you're running. And you'll want to keep track of, the click rates and conversion rates and this sort of thing. And typically you do that in a small database, but that's not personal information. That's information about the ads themselves, not about the individuals you're targeting. So,
does that apply to the custom audiences that Facebook allows?
A custom audience is made from a list of individuals. So that would be, at minimum about 1,000 people with their names and email addresses. But that's...
Mr. Wiley, when he was in testimony, he made that point that Facebook limits the custom audiences to 1,000, but he says you could have 1,000 custom audiences of 1,000 to make up 1 million, and then you have 1,000 different messages to 1 million people. So exponentially, you can grow that as you wish to use those custom audiences.
Yeah,
either as part of the same demographic or in different demographics.
Yeah, you could make as many different custom audiences as you want. The numbers of custom audiences that we've ever worked with are not in that scale or scope of size, but we certainly have used them in the past.
In the Brexit campaign, for the different Leave projects, what sort of numbers of custom audiences would you have used?
It was the Vote Leave campaign would have been where we used that. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I can certainly get that for you.
But when you say it wasn't large,
in terms of the number of custom audiences, less than 10, maybe less than 20, like somewhere in that range. But I don't want you to quote me on that because I'd have to look and see the exact number. I don't recall exactly right now, but it was not a ton.
That would seem to be rather small value for the money that was paid. If we're talking 20,000, 30,000 individuals in these different custom audiences.
So in terms of the money paid, like the vast majority of all that money went directly for the advertising. There's also reporting tools and things like that. There's our time. We did some IT work with Vote Leave as well, which we talked about when I was here last time. So with respect to the value for money, labor, and because of course we're also helping them create the ads with graphic designers and this sort of thing. So between labor and everything else, it all adds up. When
you say you help them create the ads, coming back to to Mr. Wiley's suggestion of voter suppression in the United States and the black demographic, would you have helped customize or create those advertisements?
We've never run any voter suppression ads or done anything to do with voter suppression anywhere.
That you would understand to be, by Mr. Wiley's definition.
Oh, I mean, like even if I look back at all the work we've ever done, I can't even in my imagination try to stretch that to be anything close to voter suppression.
Okay. When Mr. Wiley was with us by video link, we discussed GitLab, the Vickery, Chris Vickery's visit to the ephemeral project, the GitLab AIQ ephemeral project, and discussed the database of truth, the project Saga, the project's Monarch. And I asked, recognizing that there is good humor among those who work in the digital world, in your business, that the subtitle of the ephemeral project on the website saying, "Because there is no truth," I asked, was that just humor or more of an underlying reflection of the mentality at AIQ? And Mr. Wiley answered, he can't speak to any of the specific intentions of AIQ and why they put certain things there. But Mr. Wiley said there was a systemic culture in the group of companies that we've been speaking about that completely disregarded the importance of truth in an election. SCL and Cambridge Analytica, he said, regularly advertised disinformation as a service offering. Are you saying you weren't aware of that? Offering a disinformation service?
So we don't conduct ourselves to provide disinformation. We provide information, and all of the advertising we do is clearly attached to the clients we do the advertising for. We're not trying to hide any of that. All of that information's been provided to the different regulators and indeed to different committees. So we've, and they're going to do the work that they need to do to ensure that it was all within the limits. But none of the advertising we've ever seen or none of the work we've ever done for any of our clients would come close to the type of description of what Mr. Wiley was saying. With respect to the ephemeral project, that particular comment is just a comment from one of our staff. That particular project, it's making reference to and I talked about this at the DCMS committee, but it's making reference to the fact that when you have multiple databases that have potentially the same information in them, that if you're going to put those back together at some point, you need to know which one is in charge. And so it's like a parent-child relationship in data. And so that database of truth is a comment that one is always the most right one. So if you ever have a conflict, say, well, there's a phone number over here and there's a phone number here, we're trying to put these together, which one's right? The comment is that particular server is the one that's going to be found to be right.
Do you think that comment isn't particularly helpful as people become familiar with the illegal harvesting of Facebook information and the way it was used by Cambridge Analytica in the Brexit campaigns and in the United States? That you mentioned it in your opening remarks. There's a lot of this discussion has been wildly speculative. Certainly reference to those sorts of individual findings, which, as you say, may have been innocent in their origin, don't reflect particularly well to people who believe that there was a cynical attempt to interfere with the democratic process. And
briefly.
So there's, very briefly, so firstly, the comment itself is perhaps not a perfect representation of what it is, but we're working with our developers to be a little bit better on that. But secondly, we never used any of the information from Cambridge Analytica or anyone else or Facebook in that was improperly obtained during Brexit, and Facebook has confirmed that. So
thanks very much. So with that, we move to Mr. Saini for 5 minutes.
Good morning, Mr. Sylvester. There's 2 points that I want to raise. One, the last time you were here, in response to Mr. Erskine-Smith, you said, we don't have, I quote, we don't have data to profile and target, and we don't profile and target individuals, end quote. And I just pick up on what Mr. Kent said about suppressing the vote. Chris Vickery uncovered evidence that in the Ripon voter querying data, there's an option value for disengagement target, and I have a copy of it here, and I think he's posted it on his Twitter. Can you please explain what this means and how your past statement can be accurate in light of this information?
In the context, that was during the presidential primary campaign. A disengagement target are the people who you just don't want to talk to. Because, for example, if you're campaigning and you know there's a street full of hardcore conservatives, you're just not going to bother knocking on those doors. And that's what the disengagement targets are. It's a list that you can use so that when, for example, you're making a mailing list to send out mailers to people, you can then take out the people who you know are never going to vote for you because they're hardcore conservative, or in the case of the primary campaigns, they're extreme Republican or extreme Democrats, for example, or something like this.
So the disengagement target, that was to eliminate it. It was not to provide them other information to suppress the vote or deter them from voting. So they were eliminated from any of the advertising that you were doing.
Yeah, so not all of the advertising, but specifically they would be eliminated from lists that the campaign.
So if you say not all the advertising, what does that mean?
Well, when you advertise to...
Because you've stated here it's disengagement. Yeah. You've just told me that those are people you want to avoid. And Correct. You use the example that if you know there's conservatives on the street, you want to avoid them. So if I know there's conservatives on the street, what am I going to target them?
No, exactly. So when you're doing a list that you might match for advertising, or if you're going door to door, or if you're doing a mailer, anything where you would be directly communicating with an individual, then yes, you would exclude those people. But with respect to general demographic type advertising or geographic advertising, you might still show them ads. You're not going to, you never know who those people are because it's all just through Facebook or Google or whatever.
So those, okay. So in the second part, there's some similar querying data that shows that Ripon querying data that called for psychographic targeting based on high openness, extroversion, high neuroticism, high conscientiousness. What other psychographic targeting do you do, and which client, and for which clients, and on what campaigns?
So we don't do any psychographic targeting. The information you're speaking about were scores or rankings that were provided to us by SCL for their clients.
So this is within your Ripon?
Yeah, I'm just about to get to that. So we created their political CRM that they call Ripon, okay. And in that it had the ability to display those scores or rankings that SCL created, and so the client could go and look at those values. So insofar as we wrote code to allow it to be displayed to the client.
You wrote the code for these values, did you not?
We wrote the code to display the values. We didn't find the values or make the values or anything like that.
I don't understand what that means. You have in your code certain criteria, certain values. Like, I'm not a coder, but to me, I just want to understand. You have certain codes or certain values that you've written into the program. Now you're saying that it didn't work, or it, explain that to me. Yeah.
No, okay. So a political CRM has a database underneath it. That database, and certainly the empty database and the code in order to look at that database for a client, we wrote that. The actual data that was in that database was provided by SCL. And so they told us what the values were and what they would look like. So for example, with respect to that psychographic scoring, it was a number between 0 and 1. And so what we got is 5 columns, and in each column there was usually a number between 0 and 1. So from 0, 0.5, 0.7.
So are you stating that for SCL, for this specific project, you have these values, but these values were not available in other projects?
Well, they were available in the projects that we worked with SCL on, that they asked us to use their Ripon tool that we wrote for them, but we've not used them anywhere else.
No, okay. No. So you have this code, Ripon. You've used it for other campaigns and for other clients, right?
Are you talking specifically about the Ripon code?
Yeah, Ripon.
We only used it for SCL clients.
So, but so you've given the Ripon code to SCL, but SCL could have used it for other people.
They could have used it for, like, after we're done working, they could use it.
You wrote the code with what SCL told you to write the code for, but you don't know where else it could have been used.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they used it anywhere else.
You'd be surprised, but why was it written in the code then? What was the purpose? Did you not have a query as why you're writing this in the code?
Well, no, we knew they were making some type of data analytics program, and they told us what.
But you knew that it was political targeting, did you not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was for politics, so yes.
So you didn't sound odd to you that you're using psychographic profiling with this sort of? If you look at the high openness, extroversion, neuroticism, did you not find that odd? You weren't doing a psychology experiment. You were doing political work.
Correct.
So did you not find that odd that you're writing code? A client has asked you to write code for certain things. Did you not find that odd?
It's certainly new from a political perspective.
So this code has been used for political purposes then?
Yeah, it was a political customer relationship management tool.
Okay, so but you, as the coder, would not have thought it differently, that you're putting this kind of language in the code. You had no concern or any query as to why are they doing this? What
Well,
was
we
the point of this?
understood that they were making these sorts of scores and providing it to.
No. I understand you understand they were making these sorts of scores, but you are a coder. Am I not right?
Yeah, I don't code anymore, but I do.
Okay,
I do have, yes.
so somebody gives you work.
Yeah.
As a professional person, and they're telling you to put this in there. This did not strike you as odd as why are they asking for this kind of stuff?
Even in terms of why are they putting
well,
personalities?
If you look at some of the words, highly charged, you know, neuroticism, conscientiousness, extroversion, that didn't really.
Those were all based off of the Big Five personality profiling that's quite common in the personality space. We certainly, when they told us that that's what they were doing, I looked at what the Big Five personalities were, and I think I took one of the online tests. But
now, Mr. Vickery also.
Mr. Saini, unfortunately, we are over time. I know. We keep
it
going
goes
all day.
fast.
Well, we'll come back to you though. So for the next 3 minutes, we got Mr. Angus.
Thank you. Mr. Wiley, when he was here last time, was very forthcoming in the various companies that SCL is, SCL Commercial, SCL Elections. He's provided us documents where we have your colleague who's not here as head of SCL Canada. He says that you were set up to be SCL Canada. What do you say?
Whether that was SCL's intention at the time, it was not told to us. As I mentioned when I was here last time, or perhaps it was the DCMS committee, but they did ask us at one point, this is well after we started working with them, they did ask us if we would create SCL Canada, and we declined.
Okay.
And so why they would then put that on their website, I don't know.
Right, because he says your claims are, quote, completely false. He said that under oath. It seems to me really strange that we have a listing of documents with your colleague as head of SCL Canada, your colleague who's not here with a phone number for SCL Canada. He says AIQ was set up because there were projects that were run by SCL and then Cambridge Analytica that needed a team of engineers to perform the work. And you were set up to do that work as a, what he said is a franchise operation of SCL. He said that to us under oath. Is that true?
We were never set up as a franchise. We certainly did work for SCL, and we certainly have software engineers on our staff to do coding and that sort of thing.
No, I mean, you're able to do outside work, but you were set up to be the franchise data engineers of SCL. That's what he said under oath. Brittany Kaiser in the UK said the same thing. So why would you tell us that? I mean, you've never given us any clear picture of how you were set up with SCL. He said under oath that you were set up for this purpose.
I've given a very clear picture. We were an external contractor. We did work for SCL, but we are entirely separate. We are not a part of their company. We don't take direction from them on what we do. Insofar as we have a contract with them, we do the work in that contract and provide them with that work and get paid for it, just like any other company.
Right.
Why they would put Zach's phone number on their website without letting us know, I don't know.
Okay, so then Christopher Wiley said under oath that what you and your colleague have told us, and you just repeated what you said the last time, that he says it is, quote, completely false. That would mean lying to our committee. So either Christopher Wiley's lying, or I would suggest we're not getting the full facts from you. You are under oath as well, Mr. Sylvester. He says it's completely false. Is he lying to us?
In what regard? Is he lying about the
fact that you were set up? That he says that your position as not being set up to be the franchise operation of SCL Canada, that your claims that you are not that is, quote, completely false. He said that under oath. So was he lying to us?
Well, he also said under oath that it was true, and I'll quote, that Aggregate IQ was not a part of SCL. He said that here, under oath. His story seems to have changed over time.
Franchise. You were set up specifically because they were running projects by SCL, Elections Group Management, and then through Cambridge Analytica, and we have the documents where we actually see the 4 hirings that are going to be taking place by AIQ under SCL Commercial with Zach Massingham as head of SCL. Why would the documents be there if if this is not true?
Well, we've never done any work for SCL Commercial. All the work we did for SCL was SCL Elections.
Well,
with respect
yes,
to
SCL Commercial, DAS, Elections and Social Management.
Fine, but I note as well, though, that his name is...
So you were working for SCL Elections, you were hiring for them, you're listed as their head. Christopher Wiley says you were set up for this purpose. You could do side projects, that's okay, because it seems a lot of loosey-goosey stuff was done under the SCL World operations. But he says that you have misrepresented your role with SCL to our committee. To me, this is a very important thing because we have to make a report to the House about the evidence we heard. I'm giving you an opportunity. Why would Christopher Wiley lie to our committee if this is not true?
I don't know why Mr. Wiley would continue to state what he's saying. He ought to have been fully aware of what our relationship was early on. He, in fact, when he had his own company, pitched to us to work with him.
He says
Unfortunately,
he brought you
Mr.
in.
Angus, we are
So
almost at 5
aware.
minutes, so we're going to
Thank
have to get back to you for the next 7-minute round. And with that, as we pick up the next 7-minute round, we've got Mr. Bayless for 7 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Sylvester, you started off your testimony by saying we've been entirely cooperative with this committee. Yeah. You said it. What do you mean by cooperative? What does that mean to you?
We've come, answered all your questions, answered further questions when you asked us to provide additional information, provided a ton of information. I think that's what cooperating is, answering all the questions as best as we can and trying to give you the
answering
information.
as best as you can?
Pardon me?
Answering them as best as you can?
Well, that's all I can do.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I won't have all the information, just like I mentioned earlier, and then I will go back and try to find that information for you.
No, but if you're cooperating, you're going to try and answer all the questions.
Correct.
And if you're entirely cooperating, because you said entirely cooperating, how is that even more so? What would you do more?
Than just cooperating?
Yeah, I'm using your words. We've been entirely cooperating.
I just simply mean that we have cooperated as best as we can and tried to answer the questions as best as we can. You know, we've come twice now. We've, like I said, answered all your questions and provided a ton of information.
So, for example, you also said in your opening statement you've been cooperative with the people in the United Kingdom, their information commissioner.
Correct.
And their committee as well.
Correct.
Now, the last time you were here, I had a hard time understanding something because I kept asking you a question about the information commissioner saying you were not cooperating, and you kept telling me, you had a very perplexed look on your face and said you'd answered their questions, you got one letter, you answered, and you got a second letter, you answered it.
Correct.
This is what you said in that second letter. I quote to the UK people, "We are not subject to the jurisdictions of your office." Can you explain to me how that statement is cooperative?
We aren't subject to...
I know that. I didn't say you're not. I am asking how is it cooperative? And then you could tell me how it's entirely cooperative.
Well, it's true.
It's true, I know that. That's not what I asked you, though. Let's answer my question this time. How is that statement cooperative?
We're just providing our perspective on what they're asking.
Oh, so that is a cooperative statement, yes or no?
Well, it is part of the whole letter, yeah. I think it is.
Yeah, I'll read another sentence of the letter. You answer none of her questions. You answer none of her questions, but you're cooperating and you're entirely cooperating. That's what you told us right now today.
Sorry, you said we've answered none?
In that letter, you answered none of her questions. You ended the letter like so. We consider our involvement in your office's investigation to be closed. So you make a statement, we're not subject to your jurisdiction, and we consider our involvement in your office's investigation to be closed. Now, you still would have told us this morning, right here, you have been entirely cooperative. You did not answer any of her questions. You wrote this letter saying we're not subject to your jurisdiction, and you closed unilaterally the discussion. I want you to answer this question now, and this question. How is that being entirely cooperative? Answer me that question.
So in that letter, we did answer her questions, we believe.
You did not answer her questions, and I didn't ask you about that. I'm asking you very specifically, and you'll answer my question now. How is this letter telling her you're not going to answer any of her questions, telling her you're not subject to her jurisdiction, being entirely cooperative? And how, when I asked you there is a disconnect between what you're saying and she's saying, You sat there with a perplexed look on your face after you've told me you've been entirely cooperative, and you've explained to me what cooperative means. Answer me that question.
So with respect to our answers, first of all, we never said we wouldn't answer any more questions. We did
No,
say...
I didn't say you said you wouldn't answer.
No, you just did say that.
No, you said we consider our involvement in your office's investigation to be closed.
Correct.
So when you say that, it does mean you will not answer any more questions.
No, it doesn't.
Or does it? It's closed, but you're going to answer more questions.
Well,
I just want to understand then.
We believe that we've answered...
closed?
We believe that we've answered all of the questions.
No. You just said you would answer more questions. Now, is it closed? Did you say it's closed?
I did say it was closed. Yeah, we believe that
now,
it was
if it's closed, how are you going to answer more questions?
If they ask us more questions.
No, you said... So it's closed in your mind, but you're going to answer more questions.
Well, we believe that we've... to the point that...
Just so I'm sure, you also mentioned to my colleague there that you're not obfuscating, so I just want to make sure this is not obfuscating what you're doing now.
No.
Do I understand that correctly?
Correct.
You're not obfuscating me right now, are you?
No.
No, you're answering me very clearly. If you said you've closed the investigation, you closed it, you've decided that. They didn't decide that.
We believed that we'd answered everything they needed, and thus we thought it was closed.
Yeah. You said it's closed, and then are you answering more questions?
We've answered tons more questions.
When I asked you why there's a disconnect, did it not dawn on you when you wrote this that you did not answer any of her questions, and that's why she wants to take legal action against you?
Yeah, so after our meeting...
But yet, not after the meeting. When I asked you last time you were here, and you obfuscated, and quite frankly, Mr. Sylvester, you lied to me. Now you're here again, and you're under oath. This is what was written in the letter. Is it not clear to you that you did not answer her letter, you did not answer her questions, and you told her by saying unilaterally that it's closed that you were not going to answer her questions?
So I didn't lie to you before, and with respect to when you brought up that issue, I did wonder how she came to that conclusion. That's why we reached out afterwards to have a conversation directly with her. And we heard back from them as to why they thought...
You wondered how she got to the conclusion when you said, I'm not going to answer your question. When you said our involvement in your investigation is closed and we're not subject to your jurisdiction, you wondered how she came to that conclusion. You just said that.
Yeah.
I want to make sure. You wondered how she got to that conclusion.
Yeah, because I never said I wouldn't answer
Okay, let me explain
questions.
something to you. If I asked you a question and you told me I'm not subject to your jurisdiction and the investigation is closed, you would wonder how I came to the conclusion that you're not cooperating?
I didn't believe their investigation was closed.
You would wonder, I asked you a question, you would wonder how I came to the conclusion that you're not cooperating?
I would wonder how you would state that we said that we wouldn't answer any more questions.
I asked you a straight question. If you gave me this answer,
correct.
I asked you a question, you say, Frank, we're not subject to the jurisdiction of your office and we consider our involvement in your office's investigation closed, and you would wonder why I would think you're not cooperating, and not, entirely cooperative.
Well, they may not have liked all of the answers.
There were no answers. You just told them you're not cooperating.
No, well,
let me be clear. You would wonder, if I got that, why I would think you're not cooperating.
No, I would wonder why you would say that we refuse to answer questions.
So we are at the 7-minute mark, so we will move on to... there will be more time. We'll go to Mr. Kent for 7 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Wiley, when he appeared before us, said the way he looks at all of this and the past several months of discussions, the claims and counterclaims, the contradictions, so forth, he says, the way I look at it, Cambridge Analytica is the canary in the coal mine. Would you agree with that statement by Mr. Wiley?
With respect to?
Election manipulation using improperly obtained data.
I don't know what he meant by it, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, basically what he said was, as he went on to explain, he says, what has been exposed is how easy it is to misappropriate information, take funds from mysterious sources, and then go and interfere in elections, particularly in cyberspace. It really shows how the internet and the growing digitization of society have opened up vulnerabilities in our election system. Do you believe that vulnerabilities have been opened up by the Brexit Leave campaigns and the way they were
No, I don't believe so. Everything that was done with Vote Leave and Be Leave and the others was all publicly reported. So I don't think in that respect there's any problem there. I mean, they could certainly look at their electoral laws and whether they're appropriate or not, but that's for them to decide. With respect to the use of the internet, there are some genuine concerns because people can advertise from anywhere in the world, and if the advertising platform lets them do it, then they could attempt to advertise during election without having to meet spending limits or whatever happens to be. However, Facebook has already put into place measures to prevent that, and I imagine other advertising providers will be doing the same. There's certainly more work that can be done, and I'm hopeful that that'll happen.
Mr. Wiley suggested that one remedy might be if Facebook was willing to document all of the advertising placements, who placed them, when, and the origins as much as they can determine of who made the buys.
And I understand that's exactly what they're doing. I'm not Facebook, but I understand that they are in the United States, for example, they're requiring people to provide some enhanced identification to show who they are. They're giving people all the information that political advertising, you can go and look at all the ads they've run, who ran them, all of that. So all the information by which it was chosen for a particular audience and that sort of thing is all going to or is already is information that people can find on Facebook.
Now, one of the major areas where suspicions have been raised about motivation and means and manipulation has been the different corporate entities in different parts of the world, different jurisdictions, the cloud, the location of servers, the storage of data, the destruction of data at the end of certain contracts. With the European Union's general data protection regulations, which have come into place, as you know, there's discussion here in Canada. The Privacy Commissioner has said that our current minimum adequacy, he would suggest, should be significantly upgraded in some areas, perhaps not all, to match the GDPR. Would that change the way your Aggregate IQ's business model would operate in terms of domestic Canadian election work?
No, I don't think so. With respect to GDPR, there are some changes that, like for example, they assert that an IP address and a time is personal information. So that would prevent you from using things like pixels to show an ad to somebody who's previously been on your website without knowing who they are. So that would certainly change, but that would be something that would be implemented by Google or Facebook or whatever advertising platform. With respect to the work that we do with clients, it would, other than whatever specific regulations that might go around it, the services we provide would generally be the same.
But in terms of the ownership of individual personal information and their new opt-in requirement, granting permission for subsequent use in any number of ways, and given your explanation that you don't know where a lot of the data models have come from and how they were obtained, wouldn't that then create new concerns or new protocols that you would want to follow to be sure that you aren't in future dragged into something similar to the Cambridge Analytica SCL scandal, Facebook scandal?
Yeah, certainly there's an opportunity to provide clarity to people about what information they're providing and what it's going to be used for, either right away or in the future. One of the challenges with Facebook, for example, is when I signed up a long time ago, and I'm not on there now, but when I signed up for Facebook a long time ago, their privacy statement may have said one thing, and then 10 years later they've had a number of different updates, and now they're doing they're doing all of this different advertising. They weren't advertising when I started, and so in that respect, there do need to be clear statements and clear guidelines, and I think there's a role for government in providing that legislation and those regulations so that companies know what they need to provide to consumers and to voters and to whomever, and political parties as well, to let them know what's going to happen, what they can do to get their information back if they don't want it to be used, what type of notification requirements there are. All of that stuff should really be included. With respect to going as far as GDPR in all of the ways, I know There's a number of services in the UK and in Europe that have had to shut down because of how, not because they're doing anything wrong, but simply because of the IP restrictions and limitations. And they're working on ways to work within the rules to still provide that service. But so we'd have to be cautious about how that's done. But there's certainly lots of room for opportunity there.
Well, and we saw in recent weeks since the GDPR came into effect that several dozen American news organizations have actually closed access to EU users because of their concerns that the GDPR, they may be in violation of the new GDPR regs. So hypothetically, if we were to believe everything that you and Mr. Massingham have told us in the 2 sessions of testimony, would it be fair for us nonetheless to conclude that in some ways you have been dealing or may have been dealing in stolen goods?
Dealt in stolen goods as you're describing it, and insofar as all the information that we've received from clients is information that in itself they have obtained correctly.
How can you be sure?
Well, because as I said earlier, the information that we receive is entirely consistent with what you get like as a registered candidate. And so, and as I was saying to Mr. Erskine-Smith earlier, and I think we were talking about earlier as well, it is entirely possible that they decide who to put into that list by some other means, and I don't know what those means are. But the actual information I get from them in order to run ads or to load into their political CRM is they legally have. And so, but that there is opportunity even in that, in the legislation to define what is allowed and what isn't allowed, and the companies will always work within those rules. It's just a matter of defining for them what those rules are and giving them the guidelines, the clear guidelines in order to follow. And the first thing, of course, is very clear disclosure as to what that's being used for.
Thanks very much. And I know Mr. Angus was worried about running out on 3 minutes, so he's got 7 minutes this time around.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last time you were here, we were trying to get a sense of how your company that was very obscure in Victoria got the huge contract for both the Vote Leave and the Be Leave campaign, and you said that it was through a competition. So how did you get that contract?
So we were introduced by an individual, and I spoke about this just a second.
Individual?
The individual's name was Mark Gettleson.
Okay.
He introduced us and let us know that they were looking for advertising providers. And so then he sent us an introductory email to Vote Leave. We then took over from that, had conversations with Vote Leave. We created a proposal, sent them a proposal, and they selected us. And then we started doing work for them.
And was Mr. Gettleson involved in getting you the contract for Be Leave?
No.
No. Because Mr. Gettleson has come forward as a whistleblower, and he said that he helped coordinate Be Leave being the front for Vote Leave and getting this extra money, setting up the bank logs, the emails, and he put you in that position. But were you aware that he was doing this with Be Leave?
No, the last interaction we had with him was when he introduced us to Vote Leave via email in that campaign. I have spoken with him since, but that was well after Brexit.
Right. Okay, so I want to go back to the conversations that your colleague who's not here had with the 22-year-old, and nothing against being 22. I was 22 at one time as well, except nobody gave me £625,000 to affect a major, the biggest referendum in British history. And at one point, your colleague who's not here says to Mr. Grimes, we're on track to spend $300K today, so that's half the budget in a single day. So that would have been at the end of this 10-day campaign?
I don't recall the exact time frame, but the money from Be Leave came in 3 different chunks. It didn't come at $625,000 all at the same time.
Yeah,
so the first, I think we provided the invoices to you, and I think the first one was $400,000.
$400,000, yeah.
And so they did set very aggressive advertising targets, and we worked within those targets.
Okay, so because we talked about this in the first round, but I'm just trying to get a clear picture of it. So Mr. Massingham says to Mr. Grimes, we're on track to spend $300K today. Do you need me to grab some money for you? You've been involved in political campaigns. Don't you think it's highly unusual for your data your data geeks to be in charge of getting money for a campaign? Like, how does that work?
So as I mentioned earlier, what Mr. Massingham was referring to is that Mr. Grimes had asked if we could transfer some of that money back to him that had been provided because they had some expenses. And so Mr. Massingham was saying in the email that if you want us to transfer the money back, let us know.
And then
it wasn't that we were getting money for anything else. We were providing their money back to them because.
Well, he doesn't say that. He says, "Want me to grab some money for you?"
That's what he was.
I find that's a very unusual phrasing. And then he says, "No, that's fine. Victoria is sorting." So is that Victoria Woodcock from Vote Leave?
I believe so, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. So it was perfectly fine for that $625 to be transferred because donations are legal, correct?
That was our understanding, yes.
But coordination would be illegal.
That was our understanding, yes.
Okay. And so when Mr. Massingham's offering to get the money to them, and he says, no, it's okay, the representative of Vote Leave is going to get the money, Mr. Massingham was taking on the role of helping to coordinate the transfer of funds from Vote Leave to Be Leave, correct?
No, that's, as I said earlier, that specific question was about transferring some of the money that had been given to us back to Be Leave because they needed money for other expenses other than advertising. So that's what Mr. Massingham's comment was in relation to. It didn't end up happening because I guess Darren found another way to
yeah, he was getting the money directly from Vote Leave. But $300K in a single day is an enormous amount of money that would certainly help tip an election, which is why I think the investigation of whether or not you were, as Mr. Wiley says, a money laundering vehicle for Vote Leave is the question we keep coming back to. Giving that enormous amount of money that was transferred on a single day to buy ads, from Vote Leave through the coordination, because Mr. Massingham was willing to coordinate it, but Victoria Woodcock did it. Do you disagree with Mr. Wiley's statement that what you were involved in was a money laundering operation?
Yeah, first of all, money laundering is a very serious criminal charge.
I know. That's why when he says it's under oath, I kind of jump out of my chair.
I note at the same time that he only says it in committee because it's not true.
Okay.
And so were he to say it outside, then we might have some legal recourse. We don't, because he's saying it at committee.
But you're protected by privilege as well, so you could tell us and you'd be protected, and I think that you haven't made use of that. I want to go back to the Information Commission letter that Mr. Darren Grimes wrote, where he explained, for 600,000 K, you got some emails in that, and he said, I did not undertake any working together with Vote Leave Limited. I had no involvement with Vote Leave Limited's work with Aggregate IQ Data Service Limited or any other companies. So he says that this was a completely separate operation, but then he says in the Slack messages to Mr. Massingham not to worry about getting 300K on a single day, that he would get it from Victoria from Vote Leave. So Mr. Grimes is on record as saying that he wasn't coordinating the finances. Mr. Massingham seems to be stepping up to offer to help coordinate the finances. No. Again, how are we to interpret this as anything other than you played a much bigger role than simply doing the data clicks?
So the $300,000 was money that we'd spent that has already been paid to us by Be Leave. We didn't undertake advertising until we got the money for Be Leave. And so what Mr. Massingham is saying is we've spent $300,000 of your money on your ads, and since you've asked me to transfer some money back to you, would you like me to transfer that money? That is what that is asking. He's not suggesting that he get 300K from Victoria for Darren or anything of that nature. And so Darren had asked if he could get money back.
He's not saying that. He's saying we're on track to spend 300K today. Do you want me to grab some money for you? He's not saying we spent 300K. He said we're going to spend 300K. Do you need me to get you some money? So I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of this. It seems pretty clear that he's in a position to find out where the money's coming from. And Mr. Grimes says, don't worry, it's coming over from Vote Leave. So the only interpretation we can have is that you were helping to coordinate, and to coordinate would be illegal.
So again, to that conversation, Mr. Massingham is not saying we're going to
we don't know what Mr. Massingham's saying because he's not here. So you and I guess, are dealing in hypotheticals.
I do know what
Mr. Massingham's refused to come, so we can't ask him what exactly he meant. So we're just asking for your interpretation. This, to me, is a very concerning issue because Again, the question that we see is we have a group that was set up that had no history, that within their Google Drive they have a pro forma constitution. They get their banking information from Believe. You were brought in by Mr. Gettleson, who's specifically now saying that he was helping to coordinate the two campaigns illegally. And the key person who's involved in all of the decision-making, Mr. Massingham, is not here. So we have no ability to actually get to the truth today because you were not involved in that transfer of money. It was Mr. Massingham, correct?
Well, when it came to the actual money transfer, I was involved because I was here in Canada taking care of the business of our business. So with respect, again, to that $300,000, Mr. Massingham was not offering to get additional money from Vote Leave. He was offering to provide back to Believe money they had already given us so that they could use it not for advertising, but for other purposes of the campaign.
Thanks very much. With that, we move to Ms. Fortier for 7 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. As requested, you provided this committee with documents including contracts, invoices, and insertion documents. You agree? Can you explain the difference between an insertion order and an invoice, and are they sent together?
They're often sent together, yes. Not always. Insertion order is a description of what the advertising is in a general sense, where we might have multiple insertion orders that then we put into one invoice, or sometimes they're the same.
Thank you. And at the top, I see there's a principal contact, a name from your business. Is that who you consider the primary lead for the contract?
That's usually the person that whoever is in charge of of paying those things knows from our company. Yeah.
And the one I have in my hand is for Believe. Would that differ, the primary contact for the other?
I think there are primary and secondary contacts on each, and I think there may have been different secondary contacts who was a person who might have been doing the advertising, but I think the primary might have been Zach on all of them. I don't know.
For Believe, I see, yes.
Yeah, okay. I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, sure.
For Vote Leave, you don't know?
I'd have to look. I think you have all those documents, but
and back to the invoices, you mentioned that the contract and the insertion were produced and sent at the same time. I'm correct with that?
Usually, yes. Not all the time. So with Vote Leave, I know we sent insertion orders, and then we would sometimes group some of them in one invoice. I think, but I think with Believe it was at the same time. I think
that's what I see here.
Yeah.
But I wanted to confirm. And how long would it take you to be paid? Like, how much do you take up in front? 50%, 75, 10?
It depends on the client and it depends on the advertising. So there are some clients that we will advertise for and then invoice them at the end of the period and then get paid. There are others that we ask for payment up front for the whole amount of their budget, and then we draw down off of that.
How did it work with Believe, for example?
Believe we asked to be paid first, yeah.
100%?
What's that?
100% or 50?
Once they paid us the first time, we may have, when they said they were transferring another sum, we may have started advertising into that sum, knowing that, you know, they'd paid us before, they were likely to pay us again. But in the first instance, if I recall correctly, it was that we got the money first and then started doing the advertising. With Vote Leave, however, we started advertising before we got money.
Okay. So going through the documents, I have one contract you provided us in front of me for work done from June 14th to 23rd, 2016.
Okay.
Why would it be dated April 30th, 2018? This is 2/18, this year. When was this document produced? And why is it dated 2018? And it was done in response to inquiries done by our committee. And just a reminder, that was 2 weeks after you witnessed here on our committee.
Right, so it may have been a Word document, and if I open the Word document, sometimes it has auto dates on it, in which case it might have updated the date, but I'd have to go back and look at the original, and then I can see again. But I know we sent, all of that information has been sent to the...
Because all the other ones are, you know, 2/16, but this one has April 30th.
It just may have been the format that I had it in, and I apologize if that came through that way, but I will definitely go and double check to see the exact date if that's incorrect. It might have auto-updated.
And the budget included is $565,500 US.
US, correct.
So
Yeah,
it's
which
a
I think aligns to the
huge-
400,000 UK, which I think that's what that's from.
It's not necessarily shown in here.
No, we don't do the money translation. We just on the day of typically we'll do an approximate translation in terms of what the fee ought to
So
be.
if you could provide the committee with that information, it would help us better understand how you work with invoices.
But that would have been sent at the time of the invoice and everything that went along with it. So if there's a mistake in terms of the date, I can certainly look at that. But because it was likely a Word document, and I opened it up to see if that was what it was, and then I printed it. And sometimes Word documents auto-update. So I apologize if that happened. I'll certainly double check.
Thank you. I'll share my time with Anita.
Thank you very much. Can you tell me what this Salt the Earth script is?
Yeah, so we were doing some work for a client outside of the UK, and we had been creating a reporting tool for them to show where in their area people were volunteering from, so they could see a map and little dots as to where people were coming from. When we did that, we found that there were some people coming from the UK that showed up on their map. And so in light of the information that we had been providing and working with the UK ICO, we didn't want any UK information in there. And so I asked my programmers to remove the information from the database and then to make sure that more information couldn't get back in there from the UK. And so that it does happen from time to time where in campaigns, like even here in Canada, people will go to the website from outside of Canada. It could be that they're expats, or it could be that they're just generally interested in what's going on. We saw that a lot in the US primaries. But in this case, because of the investigations that were ongoing with respect to Brexit and the ICO, we didn't want any of that information in that database.
So the note that was in there that suggested that it might violate UK privacy laws was simply because the data was there accidentally. It wasn't.
The data wasn't there accidentally. It was there. Someone from the UK went and put their information into a form, and that ended up in the database. That's not accidental. We had their name and their email address because they came to our website, or the website we created for our client, and entered it. We just didn't want it there. And so I asked the developers to delete it and to make it not possible for people from the UK to enter that information again.
And what is the database of truth?
That's a comment in relation to a particular project we're working on for a client. And as I think I was speaking with Mr. Erskine-Smith earlier, it's a reference to which database, or perhaps it was Mr. Kent, it's a reference to which database is more accurate than any other database.
So you would have us believe, here you have comments saying, well, this might violate UK laws on one of your files. You have another file called the Database of Truth that includes huge repositories of the Republican voter data, which should not leave US jurisdiction. You're set up in Canada. You tell the UK Information Commissioner that they have no jurisdiction over you. So we're to believe that you're here in Canada, that you are outside the jurisdiction of the US and of the UK, so you conveniently don't have to apply to those laws, and that you're given $600,000 pounds for a single, just go onto Facebook and click and pick some demographics, and that you had no idea that this might be something fishy, that there might actually be some sort of collusion. You just sat there and took these very similar data sets to different clients and took huge amounts of money for it, happened to be outside their jurisdiction, and it had nothing to do with trying to get around laws within the US or UK for privacy. That's what you're actually telling us today.
So with respect to there's 3 points there I think you've made. With respect to the work in the US, that particular project is a project for a client. They use it, it's their servers. We help them set it all up, that's sure, but we don't use that data for anything. It's theirs, they use it with their client. That's the ephemeral project, it is for a client. And the Database of Truth is not even built yet. That's not what it's called, it's a comment about it. And so that particular thing is not even built. There are other components of that project that are finished, but that one isn't. And so with respect to Brexit, we didn't use any information from anyone in the US or anywhere else for that other than what was provided to us by the clients. That's the only information we used there.
And with that, we'll go to Mr. Gourd for 5 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the advertising that you placed on Facebook, the design, the production of the videos, the images, etc. Did that come to you already made, or did you participate in the development of this advertising?
In terms of making images, we have done a limited few videos, but usually videos come from some other place. But oftentimes what happens is a client has an idea, they have an image, they have generally the text that they want to have or the message they want to convey, and then we help them craft that into the advertisement, which we then place on their behalf.
Donc, vous donnez des conseils pour que les publics...
So you provide advice so that the advertising is more attractive, works better. So you have your say. If you see that an ad just doesn't hold water, you'll say, listen, that's not worthwhile, and you don't deal with it.
Sometimes clients want to do advertising that doesn't, it's just not going to work. And we just know from experience that, it's not compelling, it's not particularly interesting. The individual or the campaign thinks it is, but we know that it's just not going to work. We let them know. If they insist, we'll certainly run that ad for them, but we certainly provide that level of knowledge to say, here's the context where it will tend to work in the future. This would work better if you put it as a tiny little ad versus a big ad and all this sort of thing. We work with them to provide them all that information to make their campaign as efficient as possible.
À l'intérieur des publicités...
In order to respond to election laws, must the ad be announced as being paid and authorized by the candidate? If you place an ad in a newspaper, even the posters along the road on people's lawns, they have to be authorized by the campaign. Is that provided for in your advertising, announcing it?
Particular jurisdiction, then certainly we would add that information. I know in British Columbia, for example, as long as the ad links back directly to the candidate that is advertising it, then you don't need to have the paid for by at the bottom of that particular ad. But it depends on the jurisdiction that you're working in, and we certainly make sure we comply with all of those rules. And if a campaign asks us for something and we think there's a problem, we'll let them know about it.
Dans l'ensemble de toutes les publicités...
Overall, in the context of all the ads you've placed, negative publicity, well, we know there's positive advertising. There's also attack advertising, negative advertising. Do you use that kind of advertising?
Clients have asked us to run ads that are quite negative, and we let them know typically that they're less effective than ones that might be towards their campaign, but we have run ads that have been negative in limited circumstances, yes. But they are attached directly to the campaign, and that's very clear.
Comment vous déterminez qu'une...
How do you determine that negative advertising you've accepted because your client wanted it? How do you make a distinction between disinformation, misinformation, and negative advertising? The distinction, the nuance is very slim. So if the information contained within a negative ad is incorrect, it becomes misinformation or disinformation. Are there measures to counter that?
We run are attached directly to the candidate and to the campaign. If they're espousing something which, publicly, that other people might take issue with, they can take it up particularly with that campaign. But to your specific question, how do I know if it's misinformation versus, just negative? Sometimes negative advertising is simply pointing out the truth of that person. So I can think of the specific advertising. It was, an ad saying, look at what this person has done. Once you click on the ad, it brings you to a website. We didn't control the website, though it had factual information on it about some of the things that particular candidate had done in the past that people might find unsavory. That was negative advertising, but it appeared to be all correct.
Donc, indirectement,
So indirectly, there are ads that are placed that lead you to other sites that can provide misinformation with regard to an election campaign. Perhaps it wasn't your fault, but the vehicle that people were sent to with your strategy, well, perhaps there were victims of misinformation within a campaign, despite your good intentions at the outset.
We've ever done that. It is theoretically possible, except that the the different networks, advertising networks, also check the landing pages. And so if you're directing something to a landing page, I guess the company could ask us to advertise. We could start and pointing to a web page, and at the time we began, everything looked fine, and then they went back and changed that web page after, and we didn't know they'd changed it. Yes, it is theoretically possible. We have not seen that happen in any of the work we've done, but I suppose it would be possible.
So thank you very much, Mr. Gord. If nobody minds, I'll take the next 5 minutes from here. I just want to start with a bit of a summary from what I understand, just so I've got it all clear in my mind. Mr. Massingham testified previously that he was aware that if any additional expenditures had gone through the Vote Leave account, they would have been over their limit. Enter 22-year-old Darren Grimes. He starts the Believe campaign with just weeks before the referendum with no resources, no data. They get in touch with you somehow. We don't know exactly how they became aware of you, but they did, presumably through Vote Leave. Mr. Massingham is added to a Google Drive. He testified before us that he had no idea what was on the drive, even though this was one of the largest campaigns you have ever run. Mr. Grimes makes purchase orders in large sums, mere days in between or close together of receiving the same large amounts from Vote Leave that happen to be in the exact right numbers of the purchase orders he's made. We learned that 1,400 ads have been placed by AIQ as between the two campaigns. Almost 700,000 pounds have been spent in total, and we're directed to Slack messages. And on those Slack messages, we see statements from Mr. Massingham to the effect of, your soft stuff will play better here versus the hard stuff. Presumably that's Mr. Massingham speaking to the Vote Leave materials and to differentiate between the two. But nowhere in those Slack messages is there an indication of how many ads to run, which content to use exactly for those large number of ads, how much money to put behind the ads. That was all done verbally, from what we know. Is that just so I've got them? Oh, but I forgot to add, but there was absolutely no collaboration or coordination whatsoever. So is that right?
So to your point, Mr. Massingham said he didn't know the entire contents of the Vote Leave drive. So when Believe sent us a link, they sent us a link to images and stuff they'd used previously. So just to clarify that one point. But with respect to...
But that was the only clarification you wanted.
Well, no. It's just the information that was given to us to do the advertising was certainly initially communicated by Mr. Grimes verbally. The actual direction on the ads did come from Slack. We did have a reporting tool up at the time, which allowed Believe to see how their ads were doing and how things were going, but we don't have that anymore. That was shut down at the end. And so insofar as, and we provided a full report to them at the end of it to show exactly where everything went, and they were happy with what we provided.
Right. So moving to a different country, we've got the Ripon tool that was developed, and you've indicated before the UK committee that I want to be completely clear, the Ripon tool, the political customer relationship management tool, did have some of SCL's personality scoring in it, but we did not know the data sets they used in order to arrive at that. And you've said similar things today. You are under oath, and so looking back at the tool that you created, the psychographic scoring, as it were, and knowing what you know now about how SCL obtained information through Cambridge Analytica improperly through Facebook, is it your belief that that information did feed into that psychographic scoring?
With the information that has come out now, it looks as though they may have used, indeed, that Facebook information in order to come up with their scoring. I don't know that to be the case.
But it's likely with what we know now.
It appears to be the case.
Right. In terms of additional data, so you've got the psychographic scoring, and you say we know this number, but we don't know what it's based on. And then Mr. Vickery comes along and somehow stumbles into this GitHub database, and he's testified before us that it's pulled from a number of sort of this master data set of, he sees some RNC trust information, he sees some election list information, he sees some information from the Koch brothers, and more. And there are many data points for different individuals, including data points like they lead a biblical life. And yet you've indicated here that you don't keep data, that you destroy data, that you don't share data across campaigns. How do we reconcile this information that we have? Why is all of this information in a database of AIQ pulling from so many different sources?
So it's not one database. The Git repository, though it does have its own database to keep track of what's there, it's essentially a file storage location. When those databases were backed up, some of them were intentional, like for example, the list of users of a website, for example, they were supposed to back that up. But with respect to backing up a list of people who had signed up to a website, that wasn't supposed to be backed up. Now we've put in place measures to make sure that doesn't happen again. When I was here, I described that in detail about how that happened and what we've done to change that. But you know, we're going to make sure that that doesn't happen. We're still investigating as to how Mr. Vickery got access. We're still looking at that. I said before that I'd report to the committee when we're done, and I'm committed to doing that as well as soon as we're done.
So let's take one example: the leading a biblical lifestyle. You would target potential voters based on that criteria?
Well, some of the information that's in that repository is not information that we created or used or do anything. And so if a client had information on their server and then we backed up the code from that server, we may have pulled some of their information inadvertently, and that's part of the problem of what had happened originally. So with respect to that specific, I've never run ads for anybody targeting living a biblical lifestyle. But you know, I know that in the work that SCL did, they certainly had a broad range of issues and all kinds of things that they were providing to campaigns.
And my last question is, in retrospect, knowing what we know now, do you think you should have exercised more due diligence in taking information from SCL and simply converting that into advertising and targeting and being more aware and perhaps being asking more questions about where the data came from?
Well, we did ask questions about where it came from, but the information we got that it was from public data sources, and there's tons of them in the United States. And so we were unaware that they were, you know, obtaining information improperly at the time. I don't know that we could have asked more questions. It's difficult to look back retrospectively and say what I would have done at the time were I to know what I know now, because we didn't. Certainly with respect to everything that's transpired after having worked with SCL, you know, would I do it again? Probably not, given that I've been here now 2 times, and not that I mind, but you know, I've been here 2 times, and all the investigations and media attention and people camping outside our houses, and you know, all kinds of things. The horrible messages that get sent to us. Do I want that? Would I wish that on my enemies? No.
Thanks very much. With that, we go to Mr. Bayless.
Chair. What's data harvesting?
What is data harvesting? It would be collecting data from sources, I suppose. Just depends on which context you're speaking about it.
What's caller ID spoofing?
So when you place a call, you know, like in your office, for example, you might have 4 phones, but no matter which one you dial from, the main office number is the one that comes up when you make the call. It's not the number that you're, it's not the actual number you're calling from, but when people call, they get back to the office that you called from, essentially.
But what's caller ID spoofing?
Well, that's what it is. It takes the number from when you make that outgoing call, it places a number that's different from the number that's calling on the call display, so that when someone sees the number or responds, or calls back, it will go to the number that came on their call display. It's not the one that the call originated from.
Right. Your company, has it written programs that do data harvesting?
We have written programs that will collect data, yes.
Has your company written programs that do caller ID spoofing?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that caller ID spoofing is illegal in the United States?
It's illegal in certain contexts, yes.
Okay. Are you aware that certain data harvesting is illegal in the UK?
There is certain data harvesting that would be illegal in the UK, yes.
All right. So, do you know what aiding and abetting a crime means?
Not specifically, but in a general term, assisting
in a legal
someone with
sense,
crime.
if you didn't do the crime, but you aided someone to do the crime or you abetted them, it means that you can be found guilty too.
Okay.
So, if you program things that you know, or don't know even for that matter, that are illegal and going to be used in an illegal manner, whether in the United States or the UK, you're doing something illegal. and you yourself are aiding and abetting in a crime.
Okay.
Mr. Massingham stated that you follow the laws wherever you operate.
Correct.
But aiding and abetting crime is not following the law.
But we've never aided or abetted crime.
You've just said that you did caller ID spoofing.
So what
you just said that you did data harvesting. In jurisdictions where it's not allowed, where it is illegal, you have aided and abetted in a crime. And you know what? You're actually lucky. You know why? Because you stated very clearly to the UK people, and I'll repeat it, we are not subject to the jurisdiction of your office. Why did you say that again? Why did you write to her to say, we are not subject to the jurisdiction of your office?
Because it was true.
I know it's true, but why did you need to tell her that?
Because we wanted to make sure she was aware that we knew that.
Why did you need to know that she was aware that you knew that?
Because we enjoy clear communication.
And why did you think that she would not be aware that you were not subject to the jurisdiction of her office?
We don't know what she's aware or not aware of, so we just wanted to make that point.
It was important that she knew that you were not subject, and you knew that. Obviously, because you wrote it, right?
At the time of writing, I certainly knew that, yeah.
Yeah, so you knew that. So when you were busy writing your programs, because you said, and I'll quote you directly now, Mr. Sylvester, we are not data harvesters. And you're not, I know you're not, right? You said that, that's your statement.
Correct.
You're not data harvesters, are you?
That's not our business, no.
I know, no, you said we are not data harvesters,
Correct.
And you're not, right?
No, I don't think we are.
Of course, because that was a true statement, but it was an obfuscation and a misleading statement. You are people that write code to do data harvesting, but you don't do it. But you don't worry about that because you know very well the jurisdictions in which you operate, and you've made it very clear to those people that you're not subject to their laws.
So we've
you
not
better
done...
hope. You better. I'm not a lawyer.
No, I'm not
a lawyer, Mr. Sylvester. And I don't know about how these jurisdictions work or not. You seem to know more than me because you made it very clear to them. What you've done is aided and abetted in crimes in other jurisdictions and other countries, and right now you may be benefiting from the fact that you live in Canada. You have done data spoofing, you've done data harvesting, you are aware of it, you've made a statement that you're not subject to the jurisdiction, and you have misled this committee time and again by obfuscating when they ask a direct question and you say things like, we are not data harvesters. No, you're not. You are people that help other people that do the data harvesting by writing their code.
So here's the thing. Data harvesting in the places where companies have used our software in order to help them gain insights into whatever it is to collect data, it's not illegal. And with respect to the work we did, it's not illegal. And
you're aware of the Computer Misuse Act of the UK, and it's not illegal?
But we've not done data harvesting in the UK.
You've not done data harvesting anywhere. What you've done is written programs from other people. You can continue with this mincing your words, but what you've done is written programs for other people that have done it. You have not done it. I know that. You have aided and abetted in a crime.
I disagree. You've said a couple of things. One is, in terms of phone number spoofing. The tool that we created is a phone from home phone bank for campaigns to have their volunteers phone to potential supporters during the campaign in order to ask questions.
I don't care what you've created and how.
But it's entirely legal.
Yeah, and I don't care what you've created and how you can explain it away. What you've done is put together programs to do things in other jurisdictions which are against the laws of those jurisdictions. And then you've stated very clearly you don't care because you stated it for everybody to know to make sure in case they didn't know, you want to clarify it. And I'll repeat, we are not subject to the jurisdiction of your office.
Well, I have to caution, if I'm doing work in the U.S., and the work I'm doing in the U.S. is entirely legal in the U.S., and I'm then doing later some work in the U.K., and the work I'm doing in the U.K. is entirely legal in the U.K.
But you don't need to worry about that. Why did you make
No, but I do worry about that. Because
why did you make the statement if you worry about it?
Which statement is that about?
I'll
not being in
repeat
their
it again.
jurisdiction?
You're not subject to their jurisdiction. Why did you make that statement about it's legal or not? You're not subject to their jurisdiction. Why do you make that statement?
But you're talking about criminal. You're talking about something that's criminal, and that's a very different allegation.
That's your words, jurisdiction, not mine.
Yeah, no, it is my words, because
your words.
and I've explained that clearly.
So we are unfortunately out of time on that line of questioning, and we've got 3 minutes to Mr. Angus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Massingham did not testify at the UK committee, correct? And he's not here today because you stated the last time you were here, quote, "We saw no evidence of any coordination between the two campaigns in the UK." And yet we have the Believe hard drive folder where your colleague Zach Massingham is not here. He's in this folder along with the senior representatives of the Vote Leave staff. So he would have seen that there was coordination because they were in the Believe folder. Were you aware that Mr. Massingham had that knowledge?
So when you say he was aware that they were in the folder, what I think you're talking about is the permissions of who could access the folder.
Yeah.
When you click on a link, you don't get to see who has access to it. You just see the files that are there.
So he wouldn't know that within the folder. I mean, you guys are tech gurus. You're getting
right,
paid
but we
big
weren't
bucks.
administrators.
You wouldn't be aware that the Vote Leave people were in the Believe folder.
You wouldn't. So when you click a link, and I don't know if you've used tools like Dropbox or anything like that before, when you click a link, it opens up the folder and shows you the files that you as an individual have access to. That's all Mr. Massingham would have seen when he clicked on that link.
So he was never aware, because Shamir Sani, who was the front face for Believe, has come out as a whistleblower and said that it was a front and that it was illegal. Mark Gettleson, who was one of the coordinators of Vote Leave, has come out and said that what they did was coordinated and illegal. Your colleague who's not here was in the same same Google Drive with the key people on the Vote Leave, which would have suggested a coordination. He's talking about getting money. He's not here to answer that. What you know now, would you say that if you knew what Mr. Massingham known, that you might have thought that what you were doing was illegal?
So you've made a number of statements there that we've talked about already that I've described exactly how it happened.
It's just that the key people on the campaign have come out and said this was coordinated, and the coordination link is Aggregate IQ, because you're the one who's placing the ads. They're set up. There's a pro forma constitution to set up a committee. That was in the Google Drive. Were you aware of that as well?
No. Well,
okay.
We've seen some media reports of it now, but not at the time.
So you get $600K in the final 10 days. Mr. Massingham, who's not here to answer this, is talking about where to get the money from. It's going to come from Vote Leave. You know, I don't want to keep circling around and around because Mr. Massingham could probably give us a nice, clear explanation. But don't you think that the questions of it being illegal become very obvious to a lot of people, everyone it seems except Aggregate IQ? And then we go back to Mr. Wiley, who said that you laughed and said, yes, of course it was totally illegal. So you're protected by parliamentary privilege here, Mr. Sylvester. Why don't you just tell us, given all you've seen, don't you think that there's an obvious impression that this could have been illegal and Aggregate IQ could have been the connecting link?
So with respect to parliamentary privilege, I also swore an oath, and in my last testimony when I was here last time, I also behaved as if I had. So I can only tell you the truth. And when we were working with Believe, we had no indication and saw no evidence that there was any coordination. With respect to other information that's come out now, all of that information and more has been given to the Electoral Commission.
Okay, but when Facebook wrote to the UK committee, contrary to your testimony, they said our investigations to date have found that there was a data file custom audience, one website custom audience, and one lookalike audience that were used to select targeting criteria for potential ads during this period by both Vote Leave and Believe pages. Don't you think if Facebook says that the same data sets were being used on both campaigns, that it goes back to Aggregate IQ having used that?
That particular issue I described earlier in detail with Mr. Erskine-Smith and in my opening statement. While they existed for a period of time, they were never used, and I thought I explained that fully.
So we are out of time for your portion, Mr. Angus, and we are actually at the end of the second round. Now we do have more time. Certain members I know don't have questions, so if I know Mr. Saini does, Mr. Picard does, and so if we keep, I don't think we'll go the full 5 minutes per. Let's just a few, 2 or 3 questions each, I think would be sufficient.
So, Mr. Sylvester, I just want to pick up on my colleague's point. So you have admitted that you have created spoofing call ID numbers?
Yeah, we created a tool with a program called Twilio, and it allows you to register an address or a phone number for a campaign, for example, or for a central office where people, when they call from, that's what shows up. But all of those people had to be registered with the campaign in order to do that.
So who are the clients you created for?
The phone from home program is being used in in an American campaign in the U.S.
I'm sorry?
It's in an American campaign for Senate in the U.S.
And what's the name of the program?
The program? Oh, the program itself.
No, you just said something before that. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, the program, that particular thing is a mobile app, and it's being used by one of our clients to provide in turn to another client, but both in the U.S.
Now, I also understand that recently Facebook has suspended a number of apps of yours after apparently they banned you from the platform. So do you have any other apps that are running under the AIQ name on Facebook? And
No.
So you have no apps?
Not to my knowledge.
None that you've developed for any other client? Nothing?
I don't think so, no.
So none of that, okay.
I mean, if we made something a long time ago and it happens to be running, but we're not using it, I don't know. But any of the things that we've been actively working with in any way have been, with Facebook, have been stopped.
So there's nothing that, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. The final question is, what is the Brightbird Orion project? And what was your role in the project?
So we created this tool that our internal development name was Orion, and it was for SCL. SCL had sold it to one of their clients to use. It's a reporting tool for Facebook pages, and they wanted to do a pitch to Breitbart, so they asked us to make a custom version for them to do that pitch to Breitbart. They did the pitch, but the Breitbart didn't move ahead with that relationship, and so that was the end of that.
Okay, thank you.
And then we go to Mr. Picard.
I hope that when you referred to Mr. Saini's question saying that the app program for a U.S. client was for another U.S. client, both in the U.S. for U.S. targets, I hope you weren't referring to Johnny 5 app we just
Correct.
talked about.
Yeah, it's the Johnny. Yeah, we internally
You just
we call it
said
Johnny
that the
5.
client's client was Ukrainian. Ukraine is a bit on the east side of the U.S., doesn't it?
So they have three. This client of ours in the U.S. has 3 clients using it. 2 are in the U.S. and 1 is in the Ukraine.
Johnny 5 has subfiles related to Cruz, which seems to relate to Ted Cruz, a senator in Texas.
Correct.
And this app that seems to serve the Ukraine company, the app program that you put together, therefore, is used by a Ukrainian company using a third party in the U.S. with a code written in Canada and aimed at Texas, because we have a bunch of files where we have Texas resident sorted by ethnic origin, or all kinds of, even under your name, you have test queries with this project. Do I understand that this Ukrainian company asked for an app to survey or monitor or work on data that are in fact Americans in Texas?
No. So each individual app is its own tool. We deployed it for our client, who, by the way, is taking over complete control over that in this next little while. But when they provide the app to their client, the client is limited to the information that they get from their clients. So they ask their members to sign up or whatever it happens to be, and whatever information is provided by those individuals, only that particular organization, so in this case the Osnova, they are the only ones who have access to that. In the case of in the United States, the senatorial campaign or a governor campaign, they're the only ones who have access to theirs, and so the information is not shared between them.
No, but the subfile in the Johnny 5 files, there are subfiles linked to Cruz, suggesting that this data was working on Cruz-related data, Cruz being obviously Ted Cruz, a senator, and we do have files with Texas resident in the files we have. So my understanding is, if it's not Ukrainian business, why the Ukrainian app then, because it's the end product, end up with subfile that should be tested with Texas resident?
Okay, so the information that you're seeing is our sort of the code to create each individual tool. Every time we create it for a client, we make a new instance of that somewhere else with no information in it already. It's just a blank version of the app. And so that would have been created 3 different times, completely blank each time, and then the client would use that information. And so The information that we have in the repository, however, might in some way relate to each of the clients, so that if they ask us again, could you make this change to our app, we can make that change for them, but it would still reflect what they have in their app. None of the information
be it empty or not, the name of the subfile where it's written cruise in it is not by lack of vocabulary.
But that wouldn't have been given to any other client except for Cruise.
It's a Johnny 5 app, which you
right,
said
but so Johnny 5 is what we called our development project.
Yes.
When it's deployed for the client, it's called something completely different. And when we make the version of the app for them, it's completely fresh and clean and empty. It only has the one user who's the administrator from the campaign, and that's completely independent of any other campaign.
What are the names of the program or project that may aim Canadian market then?
Sir, pardon me?
The name of the programs or project. I have a bunch of, I have a Monarch ephemera, I have a number of, there's so many cases in there. Are there, or what are the name of the project or initiative where the program applied to aim Canadian?
To Canadians? I believe we may have used Sega we did. We used Sega in Canada. And we may have used Monarch as well.
Who requested the services to be applied in Canada?
We were working with a political campaign in British Columbia. And so as part of that campaign, we helped them make their website. And their website would ask people to sign up to volunteer. And we used the Monarch tool to put that information into their own voter database. They used Nation Builder, and so it would just take the information and put it over there.
Sure.
Other than that, in Canada, we may have used it. Yeah, we may have used it a couple more times in Canada on small campaigns, but we've not done a ton of work in Canada.
Chair, can we ask the witness and company to provide us with a detailed name of the program and project that they use, which application aimed to Canadian and Canadian data?
You can follow up?
We want a list of any of the programs we used in Canada, basically for Canadian clients.
Not just the name, I would like the codes and the program itself, how it works, and to see how it operates, because we're going to put some people on that to see how it works, because we don't, obviously, since they don't control what the final client does with the data, someone has to know how they work to see whether it was used for a specific, well-explained.
Let's do it this way, which might be easier. If you agree to answer follow-up questions in writing that we might have, great. So then we'll submit a specific question to you in writing on that front. We've got.
Let me try to answer. I'll write a response to you when I leave that has all the detail I believe you're asking about, and then if you want more than that, then you can let me know. And that'll probably. Yeah.
Sure. So we've got Ms. Vandenbeld and then Mr. Bayless, and I think that we'll close from there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few quick questions. First of all, one of the items in the documents that were found, the repository, was a cryptocurrency called a Midas token. So the minimum buy-in for this cryptocurrency was $10,000. Who was this done for?
We have a client that came to us in British Columbia who wanted to create a token. We did the work for them, and they haven't launched it yet, though. So.
Okay, and what would they do with this kind of token? Like, where is the value?
The idea essentially is that they were trying to raise money for a project they were doing, and people who contributed to the token, once the project gets up and going, they then receive the benefits of that project. But the company, or the organization, I should say, is working with their legal team in terms of meeting all of the British Columbia security regulations and all the federal security regulations. So we haven't launched that yet.
Okay. Have you ever been paid for any of your services in any cryptocurrency?
I mean, no. From a company, no. I bought some poutine for a friend, and they paid me in cryptocurrency, but our company has not been paid in cryptocurrency.
Okay, and do you know of any transfers of any amounts of data by anyone within SCL or anyone with whom you might have a relationship that was paid in cryptocurrency, by you or others?
Was I aware of any SCL transfers of data? I'm not aware
Do you know of any data transfers that were paid for by cryptocurrency?
I'm not aware of anything that was paid for by cryptocurrency with respect to us or SCL or any other company we've worked with.
Okay. Another line, you said that you had these lists that were provided to you by SCL. When you looked at those lists, did you see any patterns of demographic data, for instance, racial patterns or any other patterns within those lists?
No, it was not evident to us. I mean, the list we get, we don't always look at every entry in the list. We sort of get a sense of what's there. We'll look and see, okay, they've given us some names, some this, some that, what the columns are. But mostly when you get a list like that, if it's for advertising, it'll just be their name, address, and email maybe, or even just name and email.
So there was absolutely nothing that ever made you think that perhaps these lists were targeting, for instance, African Americans?
No, we've not, and indeed the ads that we ran never would, never suggested to us that was the case either.
Okay. Going back to Mr. Picard's question about Canadian clients, it seems that the model here is that SCL has multiple entities that will do work in other jurisdictions. So you were doing work in the UK and the US through Canada. Did you ever refer any Canadian clients to other SCL entities in other jurisdictions?
No.
Never?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. Have you ever worked for any clients in Russia?
No.
Okay, and are you aware of any other occasions other than the Vote Leave, Be Leave, where a client paid for another client's service that you provided?
Veterans for Britain also got a donation from Vote Leave,
Okay,
and that's all been publicly reported.
So there's nothing else where you had somebody pay somebody else's bill?
No, for us, all of our, aside from that, all of our bills have been paid for by the clients we're doing the work for.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bayless?
Mr. Sylvester, you stated that the donations between Vote Leave, Be Leave, and all that were legal, right?
Correct.
You also mentioned the court case. You knew about the court case in the UK, right?
Yeah, I was made aware of that by gentlemen at Vote Leave.
And it went through the courts that it was legal to make the donation.
Yeah.
Is it legal to coordinate?
Are you talking about UK election law? No, coordination is not legal.
Coordination is not legal, but donation is legal, but coordination is not, right?
Correct.
Okay. So you're doing work for Vote Leave, and how does Be Leave know about you? Not how they got paid, because that's okay, that's allowable. How do they know about you?
I don't know how they came to know about us specifically, but I do know how they contacted us at first, and that was via email, and I think I provided that.
Yeah, that's fine how they contact you by email. My question to you is, how did they know about you? Because at the time,
you would have to ask Mr. Grimes.
Well, I'm asking you. At the time, this was the sum total of your Facebook page. It says, aggregate IQ, changing the way you work with your data. Now, you're a small company in BC. Mm-hmm. How does Be Leave know to contact you? This is all that's on your database, right? This is your Facebook page. Mm-hmm. I'll repeat it. Aggregate IQ, changing the way you work with your data.
Yeah,
was that your Facebook page at the time?
Yeah, we don't use our Facebook page for marketing or anything. That was old from when we
So how did you market yourself to Be Leave?
I didn't specifically market myself to Be Leave.
How did they know about you?
I don't know. But as I said, that would be a question for Mr. Grimes.
So, okay, you don't know how they knew about you. How did the DUP know about you?
I don't know exactly.
I know that.
So,
how did Veterans for Britain know about you?
I believe we reached out to Veterans for Britain, and then they got back to us. So, but I don't have
You decided that you reached out for them for what reason?
I believe Mr. Massingham had heard that they were looking for someone to do advertising.
Had told him they were looking for help. Okay, who told Mr. Massingham?
I don't know.
You don't know that.
And I asked Mr. He doesn't recall specifically.
No, I'm sure he doesn't.
I did check because you asked. I did look through email communications and provided all of that to you.
So if I understand this, you never went to the United Kingdom during this whole time. Is that correct?
I have been there, but not during Brexit.
Not during the Brexit vote, not the lead up to Brexit vote, when a coordination may have taken place.
No, and again, like I said, I don't believe coordination took place.
Did Mr. Massingham go to the UK prior to the Brexit vote?
Yeah, he was in the UK for a period of time then, yes.
So, though donations are legal, coordination is not. Mr. Massingham goes there, and suddenly he knows about Believe, and you don't know how they know about you. Well, we can assume it's not through your website, and you did no marketing to them, right? But somehow they know, and you don't know. But Mr. Massingham now is in the United Kingdom, and that makes him subject to their jurisdictions. So this coordination took place. You are the centerpiece of that coordination. Correct?
No. So, again, I've said.
How did they know to coordinate with you?
How did they know to ask us to do work for them?
Mr. Massingham there reached out to them. Who told you to coordinate? You said someone told you to get hold of Veterans for Britain. Who told you to do that?
I don't know.
Who told Mr. Massingham to do that?
And to be clear, I don't know that that is exactly the case. As I said, I went through the email communication to try to find the answers to your questions, and I provided what I found.
You have a customer that shows up to spend £600,000, and you have no idea how they know about you, how they showed up, and you do the work, not knowing that you're going to get paid by Vote Leave.
Well, we knew once we got the money.
You have to spend the money, then you invoice, right?
No, not with Believe. No, first.
Not with Believe.
No, because again, we didn't know them for anything. So,
but you did know. But did you know when they asked you to do the work that did they tell you Vote Leave's going to pay for me?
They told us they got a donation. They didn't originally tell us the source.
They got a donation. They didn't. They paid directly.
Correct. But
so
they
Vote
had been
Leave paid you
informed
directly.
that they were getting a donation.
Okay. They informed you that Vote Leave's going to do.
But then it was transferred directly to us when we gave them the invoice or the
I submit to you, Mr. Sylvester, that yourself and specifically Mr. Massingham were coordinating this, and the fact that he did it when he was in the United Kingdom, irrespective of what you say in your letter that we are not subject to the jurisdictions of their offices and their laws, when you were coordinating with them in the United Kingdom, specifically Mr. Massingham, you were breaking their laws. And when you were doing it in Canada, you were again aiding and abetting in a crime. You helped by coordinating this effort, and that is illegal in the United Kingdom. You aided and abetted that crime. You happen to be sitting here in Canada, and that may or may not protect you. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But Mr. Massingham was in the UK when he was doing it, and that makes him subject to their laws.
So with respect to crimes, no. I don't believe any crimes have occurred in this regard. With respect to us aiding and abetting, no, we've not aided and abetted anyone to our knowledge, because it requires a knowledge of it. If someone else was doing some coordination through the campaign that we're unaware of, if Mr. Gettleson was sharing information, I don't know.
To your knowledge, you're not aiding and abetting. However, you knew very well the rules about donation. You knew about the court case. You told me about that. You knew about all these laws. You knew enough to tell the commissioners that you're not subject to the jurisdiction. You have Mr. Massingham stating, I got it here, that we follow all the laws where that we operate.
Correct.
That's his words.
Correct.
But clearly he was in the United Kingdom operating and not following their laws, and you were here operating, not following their laws.
Except for he was following their laws.
No, he wasn't, because it was illegal. It was illegal to coordinate.
But we weren't coordinating.
You said that it was illegal to coordinate, and you're at the center of this coordination effort.
Correct, but we weren't coordinating.
You were at the center of this coordination effort, and you just said correct, and that means you were aiding and abetting in the coordination, which is a crime.
So we'll
Can I say just one thing?
Allow you to finish, and then we'll close that line of questioning.
See, there is an investigation right now by the Electoral Commission into all of this in the UK, and they're working through it. It's their job to determine if anything illegal happened. If they come out and say something we did was wrong that we were unaware of, okay. But I don't believe that's the case. And so for you to say this is illegal, like you're not a lawyer and you're not in the UK and you don't have all the information, it's that type of assumptions that have been a real problem. And there's a lot of miscommunication. But all I can do is tell you what I know. I know we didn't do anything wrong.
What you told me is this: you're not subject to their jurisdiction. That's what you told me. That's what you put in writing. That's what, in fact, you didn't tell me. When I asked you the question the first time, you didn't answer me that. I found that out when I went through the documents.
Mr. Bayless, thank you very much. Mr. Picard had one last question, and then we're...
Thank you. Do you speak Japanese or Middle East language?
Sorry, Japanese or which?
Or Middle East?
No.
I'm just checking because you have in your files close to 300,000 websites. What's the purpose of having that many websites in your files?
Sorry, 300,000 websites? If you could give me
Blogs,
the
I don't have time to list all the 300. I think that the dump domain is part of you have the number of domains that is have more than one file, and in one file there is close to 300,000 websites.
I'd have to look into it, but I can definitely respond in writing, when you follow up, because I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll certainly look into it.
Do you fabricate in your code false browsing history for specific individuals?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Sylvester. First, I just want to impress upon you the disappointment of this committee in the failure of Mr. Massingham to attend, and I encourage you to impress upon your colleague the significance of this, and that we are going to go. We're going to have a conversation as a committee about how to proceed, and we're going to discuss the potential of moving forward with a finding of contempt. So I'd encourage your colleague to attend before us and come forward with dates that he can make himself available.
We provided the information why he couldn't attend to your clerk. And
very limited information. And look, I got a lot of friends who are lawyers, and
that's fine. As that process unfolds, we're happy to participate.
You've clearly lawyered up, and frankly, the information you provided is inadequate. So I just had one last question before we move into camera. You indicated that Ripon was used for multiple SCL clients. So I know it was used for the Cruz campaign, the primary. Who else was it used for?
During the 2014 midterms, there were a number of clients it was used for. Bolton was one of them you brought up. I can get you the list. Off the top of my head, I don't have it.
If you could get us the list, that would be very useful. And then after the date at which you were involved with SCL, Ripon stayed in SCL's hands. That's correct?
After the work we did transfer the code to them. There is a version of that code that we last provided to them in our repository, but we've not used it. But we did transfer the code to them after we were done, yes.
So you've suggested today that it's likely, based on the information we now know, that the improperly obtained Facebook information is what was backing up SCL's psychographic profiling in Ripon. It was used by Cruz, it was used by Bolton, and thereafter it was in SCL's hands, and we know that Bannon played a role, we know that Mercer played a role, and so plausibly it was used in the Trump campaign as well, but I know that's after your time and you can't speak to it. Okay, with that, thank you, Mr. Sylvester, and we'll move in camera.